they should come and get the flags now, so they don't have to disrupt the meeting to get them.
When did you get here?
I just got here.
Yeah,
No, I know.
but Laura's on her knee.
Yeah, I just
got right here.
I know you're so busy. I'm not getting the city's emails.
Really?
For about the last 3 or 4 days. All this, possibly even last week. I'm not getting city emails. So,
Tell you what, tomorrow I'll
someone needs to send,
check
I'm
it
asked
out.
Suzanne to send a message that says I'm not getting the city, which is weird.
It is
I
very
got the emails myself, but I'm not getting
Right.
it as fast. Yeah. And then I'll leave that.
I'll double check on that and I'll
And then I don't need that. I have my own microphone. And then the mayor will tell you when you can speak.
Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
In about 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order.
Okay.
We'll take roll call. And then you guys will be in the back of the room, and I'm going to introduce you. And you can come up and introduce the Pledge of Allegiance. What are you going to say?
I'm gonna just say like whatever's on the here.
Okay, you're not going to say attention. Are you going to say attention? You can.
If it's okay.
That's fine.
All right, I might as well say it then.
Perfect. I will call you as soon as we do the roll call.
Okay. I don't want to I don't want to stand in front of you so that way nobody can see you.
Don't worry about that. Here's what we'll do. You go to the back. I'll call you up, and you go right over to the podium. When you speak, and that's when you speak.
All right.
So then you don't need that microphone.
There's one there, and they'll help.
We're going to lower it for you. Hey, Nolan. So we're going to move it down like this, and so when you speak, you're going to speak, keeping your mouth pretty close to it, and you're going to talk into it, okay? And your audience, when you're here, your audience is always the council members, okay?
Okay, so that means I just have to look at them.
That's who you're talking to, are the council members.
Okay.
But then you can turn when you do the Pledge of Allegiance, you know. Then you're going to turn to face the flag.
Should I?
And you're going to, I'll tell your mom later how she can find this video.
All right. I got the photos.
Don't be nervous.
Thank you.
This is the best part of the council meeting.
It is?
Yes.
The Cub Scouts speaking.
The Cub Scouts, anytime we have young people here, it's the best part of the council meeting. Oh, look, the canine dog's here.
Is he going to talk to them?
They are?
Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome. He did a good
Well, I didn't hear about it, so.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
Can you go pet him?
How are you,
have,
sir?
you have to
I'm just here to be a lowly assessor.
So before you touch the door, you always
You're going to have to shrink if you're going to be low. Colt, how you doing?
Thanks, Ryan.
I'm gonna try to
Good to see you. Kelly Case.
Are you assessor? Does everyone know?
attention. Will the
Do you?
He didn't have to run against
attention?
anybody.
Will the audience please rise?
CZ come to the house the day after the election.
The closer you can talk to it, the better.
Oh, yeah.
Should I talk like
They pull up, I'm getting ready to leave.
basically attention?
I left the
So like that? Alright.
I got a battery. So we take the sign now and they get to help me jump my car. Yeah, it worked out just right.
Did you have to get a running start before you jumped in?
That was his first official duty.
There you go. Put him to work.
Bears.
There you go. How you doing, Kelly?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How's business? Always good news.
I'm leaving. I got to leave as soon as Karen and I are. No, I won't leave. They keep sending me pictures. Chrissy's
Make sure to call you.
remember I'm the mature.
Is it Craig hiding back there?
Door's locked. Was it? All right. Everybody is. Everybody, welcome. We will start this evening with the roll call. Suzanne?
Thank you. Mayor Levy?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carr?
Here.
Councilmember Case?
Here.
Councilmember Harvey? Here. Councilmember Labar? Here. Councilmember Saunier?
Here.
And Councilmember Sawyer?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. We're fortunate tonight, folks, to have the Boy Scouts Pack number 20 group here tonight, and under the leadership of Martha McIntyre. And I have the privilege of turning her over to Nolan Turner, who is going to help with our Pledge of Allegiance. It's all yours, Nolan.
Attention. Attention. Will the audience please rise? Color Guard, forward march. Hand salute. Color Guard, post the colors.
Good job. I'm going to stand next to you. Thank you. Stand up here with me. Where are you going down? Okay, turn.
Please repeat with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color Guard dismiss, and the audience may be seated.
This doesn't happen often, but when everyone in the room has a smile on their face, it's a pretty special day. And so thank you all for being here. I want to call Nolan Turner and Kyle Guillory and Easton Wazalewski. Is that right, Easton? Washaleski, I'm sorry. And Martha McIntyre, if you could all please come up to the podium, that would be great. So as you all know, on occasion, council and the city, and certainly the mayor, want to be able to thank people that go above and beyond. And we think these people are going above and beyond, and starting with the leadership and all the way down. I'm sure you're all great leaders in your own community. We're thrilled that you're here, and we'd like to see you at council more often. But thank you all for being here. Let's give them a big round of applause. And so it's our honor on behalf of council and the entire community to give you this mayor's pin. And it's for a special group of people that really do go above and beyond for their community. So congratulations and thank you very much. You bet. There you go, young man. You bet. You can shake all their hands if you want to. Go up there and shake all those people's hands. Okay? There you go. Great job.
Thank
Great
you.
job. You bet.
Thank you. Good job, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you.
Good luck and thank you. Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you. Thank you.
I was waiting for you to sing.
Good job. Great job. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Nolan. It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 2 and the War Dog Memorial presentation, and Linda Martin.
Linda Martin and Billy Cockrell, 925 Sun Valley Drive. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, for allowing me to be here this evening. I'm sorry I get very nervous in front of people. Hi, Rico. So I'm going to read my cheat notes. Thank you for allowing me to come before you this evening to honor one of our local heroes. Again, I do get nervous when I'm in front of people, and I get very nervous when I'm in front of a hero. Someone with such courage. The War Dog Memorial will honor the dogs who served and continue to serve, protecting our country, our communities, our troops, our officers, and our people. The War Dog Memorial is an organization that was set up, that was a vision of Ruby and Wade Ridpath. It was developed about 3 years ago, and they have been working since to raise funds by donations to build a memorial in Colorado Springs. We very recently learned that the City Council in Colorado Springs has approved the location for that memorial. It's going to be dedicated to the dogs, our fur heroes, that serve us, whether it's in war, law enforcement, search and rescue, guide dogs, service dogs, all kinds of our furry friends. I purchased a brick for Rico. The brick will actually be one of many bricks that will pave the pathway to the statue. It's going to be just a huge, beautiful bronze statue recognizing these animals. On that brick, it's going to have Rico's name. It will have Rico's agency name and the badge of that agency. So it's going to be gorgeous. I'm coming this evening to honor Rico and also to present Chief DeYoung and Canine Officer Tim Bradley with a plaque. Each one of them gets a plaque. Chief DeYoung, I hope that you put yours in the office. And I hope Rico's goes in his room. I appreciate your service. and I appreciate the service of our dogs.
Thank you so much. So glad he's here. Hey, buddy.
You don't like dogs?
Hi.
Hey, you don't like dogs?
I love dogs. I never met a dog I didn't like.
That's right.
It's gorgeous. He did a good job this week, too.
He kicked butt this week.
Yes, he did.
And that's just what we're aware of.
Good boy.
This one is for Chief the Young. This one obviously is for
Rico, good boy.
I was thinking of that.
Oh, yeah.
Not after the first one.
Yeah. He knows that you're here for him.
Oh, no one knows about it.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Linda, I thought it was ironic you had the cards in your hand and making a nice speech and a little nervous, passionate. You got down here and said kick butt right away.
That's because I'm used to the dog.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're going to move on to Jan Wilson. Is Jan here? There she is. And Keep Woodland Park Beautiful annual report.
Good evening, Mayor, Council,
Sound?
staff, and community. I am Jan Wilson.
Well, I'm sorry, excuse me, Jan, one second.
That's fine.
This monitor wasn't working. I don't know if we need it or not. I don't know if all the council can see this one down here.
No, it's not working in the back, but it is working in the front.
Just have to turn it on sometime.
It's not.
It's coming.
Oh, there it is, okay.
And would you put the microphone up to your mouth, please? Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm sure you could hear me without that, too.
And we're ready for you. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Jan Wilson, 2320 Rampart Range Road. I am the vice chair of Keep Woodland Park Beautiful. Our chair is otherwise engaged tonight, so I'll be giving the annual report. We have our liaison from council is Val Carr. We have a mobile art project that we have done in conjunction with Woodland Arts Alliance. Actually, they've done this. There are several things around town that we could use as photo ops for anybody in the community or visitors that would like to do that. They are stored with the art benches that you've seen around all summer long. They're stored for the winter because the elements up here are very harsh and they would be destroyed. So they're stored at Park State Bank, and we are very lucky to have Carl Anderson, who comes and helps collect all of those and puts those at Park State Bank. They graciously allow us to store those there. Another program that we have is an outreach awareness where different members of the committee nominate someone for a beautification award, and graciously Jim from Foxworth has given us 25% off coupons that we put into little cards, and if we're riding through town and we see somebody whose yard is nice. They've done something nice for the community with their property. We always give them a thank you card that everyone on the committee has signed, and it includes that 25% off coupon to shop at Foxworth. So it's just a little appreciation that we do for them. We also have 2 other programs that we do, Adopt a Spot and Adopt a Garden. Adopt a Spot is somebody or a group can adopt a spot in town and actually pick up the garbage and keep it clean. And then we have some gardens that are city property throughout town that we have people, they adopt these gardens, they plant the flowers, they weed, they water, and they keep those going through the season. Which is a big help because it helps out, we hope, the city staff so that they don't have to take care of everything. So, we're always looking for other people, so anybody that wants to adopt a garden, I have more spots.
Put it that way.
Last year, it was June 9th, we do an annual city cleanup every year. When the park was being renovated, we moved that cleanup area to, the area for everybody to come to, over to between the Cultural Center and the library on the green. We always have a barbecue afterwards, and we get a huge turnout from the community to do these. They pick spots. We have maps. Sally's a big help with that. And then we have a barbecue. As you all know, I had curbs in town, and I would hear people saying, well, I have to go down to Colorado Springs for something. But we have that up here. But they didn't know we had that up here. So we started to invite upwards of 24 organizations in town, the police department, the sheriff's department, search and rescue, the teen center, anybody that does a service, not somebody to come and set up a tent to sell, to educate these people that we do have these things up here. So they don't have to go down the pass or someplace else. They can get that same service up here. So, and they hang around on the green during the barbecue, the kids play, and it's just a nice afternoon, morning and afternoon. We also have, we got a grant a while ago from Coke, and we have recycle cans that we put out around town, and we have some extra ones that we put out at different events. But then we got there was a problem in the garage with keeping recyclables in there because they're not always washed out. Well, they're never washed out. So we were looking to buy them a storage unit that we could keep these things in and that they could work from. And we had about $3,000, I believe it was, that we said we were planning to spend on this. And one day I was on Facebook, and this ad popped up, and somebody wanted to sell this storage unit. It was a little bit smaller, but it was sufficient for what we needed, and she wanted $550. So I went over there to look at it after I had spoken with our chair, and he said, well, go see what it's about. Turns out I knew the woman, and so she gave it to us for $450. And again, Carl Anderson stepped up to the plate the next day. He went over and he picked it up and placed it into the parking lot in the back, if that's the back. That way's the back. Sorry. I'm in here and I lose direction. So anyway, so that's in the process. We want to repaint it and do a couple of repairs and build some shelves in there. And Mayor Pro Tem Carr was gracious enough to donate some wood, so we have a start for that project. And it's a great way to involve the kids in the community. So we're working on that, but we did get that. Another project that we undertook was in June, painting the underpass that goes from where Natural Grocers is being built right now across to Safeway. We get a lot of graffiti and a lot of stuff that goes on down there, and so there were quite a few people from the community that showed up and volunteered their time, so we got that painted. And right now, it's been started, but it still needs to be finished. We're painting the railing around the top. Quite frankly, I never really looked at it when I drove past it, and then I got a call from our chair, and he said, you know, when I drive past that, he goes, that is really ratty looking. he says we have to do something with that. So that's in the process of being painted right now. Most of it is done, but there are some places. But it's still, when you drive by, now I take a look at it when I go by, and it really does look better. It's being painted a dark green, so that's a nice help. And it's all volunteers that show up and help us with that, so we're lucky about that. We have another program called Fix a Residence or a Business, and it's a needy person in town that needs some work done, can't really afford to hire anybody to do it. Sometimes they're incapacitated, they can't do the work themselves, or they're elderly and they can't do it, so we assist with something like that. So we've got an elderly gentleman in the community right now whose home he needs some repair work done, so we're working to help him do that. So there's no cost to him. It's just our volunteer time, which we're glad to do. And I think that's the end of my report. Do I have any questions?
Council. Val, you have something to add on?
Thank you for your service. I joined this committee. It's a really low-pressure committee. It's really fun. They're actually doing things that are productive in town, and got some good people working on it. I'm thrilled to death to be part of the committee. Laura Pellegrino, I don't see her tonight, but she's normally in there and helps from a city standpoint tremendously. And all the wonderful volunteers we have, I'm really thrilled to be part of it. Thank you for...
Well, we're thrilled to have you. He's an asset. He participates. So on this slide up there, the Adopt a Spot sign, when somebody takes on an area that they're going to pick up, pretty much our main goal is to clean up other people's garbage. So it helps keep our town. So that sign, I don't know if this thing works, but anyway, the Adopt a Spot sign, the bottom part for the Adopt a Garden, we get those brass plaques. Those go on boulders that were donated by the mine. And so we place that boulder into the garden, and the name on the bottom can be changed if that group so decides that they would not like to do that anymore, or somebody else wants to take that over and they're agreeable to that. So that plaque is on there, and it says that it's a Keep Woodland Park Beautiful, Adopt a Garden, and it gives credit to the mine for donating that. And I'm going to try to change this, and I'm not I'm not good with this. So, it worked. It worked. There's a picture of them painting underneath in that tunnel. There's another picture over here where they're painting the rails. That one down there in the corner. So we have volunteers to show up for that too. And that other picture in the corner is taken from the city library. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, this was another thing that we did on the beautification award. We went to these two residencies and went through their gardens and looked at their yard, and they were presented with awards here. That one picture, the first picture is from Langley's yard. The second one is Cindy's yard. Cindy used to be a city employee.
Cheryl Rasmussen.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Cheryl Rasmussen.
That's because you're sitting there, see?
I don't live there.
I know you don't, but I'm Cindy-minded today because I didn't meet with her this morning. And then we also gave an award because of Gold Hill South, the beautiful renovations that they were doing over there. So this just talks about our budget. But anyway, so if there's no other questions.
Jen, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Do you have any other of your members you'd like to introduce that are here tonight?
I'm looking. There's Pat. Pat's always around, so.
Volunteers for everything.
Yes, she does.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you very much, Jen. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 2C, Parks and Rec Advisory Board. And who's going to take this? Cindy? No.
Cindy and Carla.
Cindy and Carla, okay.
We're actually going to tag team.
Good.
So good evening, Mayor Levy and council members. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board has been working on the Parks, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan since April of 2017. And I just wanted to take a minute to thank the board for their dedication and hard work on this project. They started off with the trails and sidewalk map and parks map, and then moved on to the actual master plan, page by page, chapter by chapter. And Carla's going to cover some of that work that we've completed.
Thank you.
Good evening. So I just thought I would... Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's on. Carla, just before you start, just give us your name and address, please.
Carla Schweitzer, 57 Woodland Valley Drive.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So just a few things highlights I wanted to talk about that we accomplished in the past year and a half. I want to start by saying the first thing that we did as an advisory board was we did a field trip, which was really a lot of fun. We decided to go out and visit all the parks within the city. We had our maps, and I've lived here 7 years. Some of the board members have been here many years, and a lot of us didn't know where the parks were. I hate to say that, but we just didn't know. So it was really a good experience to get out there and get out of the cars and walk around and see what each neighborhood had, see the development of the parks. And we compared that with the current master plan, which was 2007. And of course, a lot had changed. So as we were doing this, we made notes as part of updates for the master plan. Another thing I want to mention is that we decided the field trip, we want to do that again. We did this a year and a half ago, and we have some new advisory board members, so some folks, again, aren't familiar with where all the parks are. So we'll be doing that again. Later on in the year, in 2017, in July, we looked at the sidewalks and looked at all the changes since 2007. And we had maps that we broke down into areas for each of us to verify. So we kind of, each took a different part of the town and made notes and brought our revised information to subsequent meetings. And we kind of came up with some priorities, what we thought we needed to do, some considerations, how to improve connectivity within the town. And one of the big things that we decided was that Memorial Park is really the hub of this town. So when we talk about connectivity, we're really looking, from Memorial Park out, looking at schools, looking at neighborhoods, parks, downtown, everything within the city. And then following that, we started doing what Cindy mentioned, going page by page through the master plan. And it wasn't really a rewrite, it was more of just an update, because since 2007, a lot of things had been changed. The Red Mountain Adventure Park was completed. Changes to Memorial Park, of course, as we all know. The Aquatic Center was finished, or was built. And actually, in 2007, the Aquatic Center vision was a YMCA. I don't know if anybody remembers that. So, of course, it's changed. Another thing that we found was some new activities such as pickleball. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. It's huge these days. It's really taken off. So, and we have several board members that are very big fans of that sport, and they definitely, about every meeting they brought that up, which is wonderful. So that's another thing we wanted to incorporate. And then other updates we did included the population, the latest population, operational costs, things like that. And then after we reviewed the document, we did it as a group at our meetings, and then we did emails. We just, would send out emails, and people would reply, and finally completed all those updates in October. So all of you here at City Council all have the revised master plan for your review, and tonight we're looking for acceptance of that, of approval. We're very appreciative of all the support we've received from everybody. All of our board members, it's been really fun because everybody brings something different. Like I said, we have the pickleball fans, we have hikers, bikers, cyclists, all different sorts of people who have different passions. So I think we're a really good team, and we work together, and we really enjoyed working together. Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
Thanks, first of all, for all your hard work. I know what that entails, and we appreciate your help. Council?
I'll just have to say I've been on the Park and Rec Advisory Committee since the election, and it is a fun group to be around. I've only been to 2 meetings because they've been conflicting with all the budget meetings, but the 2 meetings I've had, it's smiles the whole meeting. just fun, and they get a lot of work done. It is a committee that is out there and really doing a lot behind the scenes that they don't brag about. And right now is their chance to brag, and they're really not bragging enough. So thank you for allowing me to be on that advisory committee, and good job.
Thank you. And we do have Bill Sinclair, if you want to stand. And Bob.
Morning, Bill.
Bob. So we do have other members here as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Yeah, I was on it at the beginning of the year, and then took my slot, but I enjoyed being on that too. So I was there when we first started the trail maps and things like that. Like other people, I was interested at all the parks we had. You know, we did a cursory review when we went through council orientation, but it's a tremendous thing around this town that most people have no clue except their local area. But there's obscure parks that we have that are open space that are just tremendous all over town. And I'd welcome people to really participate in activities and finding out about these things and actually utilizing, because it's a tremendous asset we have, and the board that you have is always doing good work under Cindy's direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Carla, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. You bet.
Mayor, we would just like council to adopt the plan.
The updated version, we would like to have your approval on that, please.
Yeah, I was looking for it on the agenda.
Any consensus? You need a motion? What would you like?
A consensus would be fine.
Everybody good?
Good.
Sure.
Thank you.
We appreciate the hard work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'd like to offer the parks tour. I actually have a whole tour that I take people on, so if you're interested in seeing those places that you don't really, that Val and Councilman Sawyer didn't know of. Oh, you haven't been on the tour yet, have you? Oh, well, let's get one scheduled for you. It's actually a very fun tour. We can do it in probably about an hour and 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cindy.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to agenda item 2D, and Lynn Jones. Welcome, Lynn.
Good evening. Is this okay? Mayor, council, and staff members. I'm Lynn Jones. I live at 260 Morning Sun Drive. I own a business at 110 West Midland, and I'm also a Main Street board member. And I'm here this evening to encourage you to participate in our Shop Small Saturday that's coming up on November 24th. That's Thanksgiving weekend. Shop Small is an annual nationwide holiday shopping tradition. It's sponsored by American Express, and it really is simply a way to get communities out and supporting their local businesses. So this year, members of Main Street, the Greater Woodland Chamber, and Colorado Gear Lab have been working together to just elevate the experience, both for shoppers and for businesses. So we will host a welcome station on the 24th at 9 a.m. at Woodland Square Plaza, which is right in front of Colorado Gear Lab and the Woodland Square Vintage Market. You won't be able to miss it, so we'd love for you to swing on by, and we're inviting all shoppers to do the same. Starting at 9 a.m., free coffee and treats, free canvas shopping bags, and most importantly, the Shop Small shopping list, which is a list of participating businesses and their shopping specials that they're having that day. So you won't want to miss it. Some of them actually need you to bring this shopping list with you to get their discounts for the day. The visitor center will be open from 9 a.m. to noon that day, and the entertainment will be provided by Rocky and Roll Music, which is always fun. And anyways, we're just very excited. We're hoping that we'll have lots of shoppers out supporting local businesses, and we'd love for you to join us. And with that, I have people, and they're going to pass out bags. I don't have to do it, so we'd love you to enjoy a Shop Small shopping bag.
I have people.
Lynn, I had a question.
Yes.
Where is that list available?
Well, it will be available beginning that day. We'll probably put some teasers out through social media, but we really do want people to come to the welcome station.
Thanks, Alan.
Is there any other print media that I can take in
Oh, I'd be happy to put a packet together for you. So, okay, that would be great. Yeah, that would be awesome.
You want it electronically? Easier?
electronically?
Okay, yeah, I'll get your email and we'll connect. So thank you.
Then thanks very much. While you're there,
Or an email to me, I can send it to the whole council.
That'd be great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
sure. Hopefully a busy day in Woodland Park on Saturday. I've got a proclamation recognizing Small Business Saturday, November 24th, 2018. Whereas the City of Woodland Park, Colorado celebrates its local businesses and the contribution they make to our economy and community. And whereas the citizens of the Woodland Park area support their local businesses and recognize that such local businesses create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods. And whereas the City of Woodland Park, Colorado joins with other localities in Colorado and across the nation in recognizing the importance of small business. Now therefore I, Neil Levy, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Woodland Park, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim November 24th, 2018 as Small Business Saturday, and all residents of the Woodland Park region are encouraged to shop at your local small businesses in Woodland Park, Colorado, to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year, dated this 15th day of November. Thanks very much, Lynn. And good luck to all the retailers this weekend. Should be busy. Okay, actually next weekend, I'm sorry. I said this weekend twice. Next weekend.
We can have both weekends.
Saturday, yeah, we'll take them anytime, but Saturday after Thanksgiving is this particular one. Okay, I'll turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Carr and the Wind Symphony Proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Val Carr, I live in Woodland Park, which is why I'm on council, I guess. Tonight I'd like to thank the mayor, the council, citizens, and staff. And I'm here as a longtime executive officer of Mountain Arts Council, which is an umbrella organization for volunteer artists in the area for 30 years. The Woodland Park Wind Symphony is one of those longtime members of the Mountain Arts Council. The MAC, which is what we call Mountain Arts Council, MAC, member organizations consist of mainly unpaid volunteers, including many current and former professional skilled artists from highly regarded companies, orchestras, bands, and galleries. For over a decade, I've personally made a large effort to have MAC artists and WPWS, which is what we call the Wind Symphony, recognized and utilized locally as equal to and sometimes superior to out-of-town talent. This has recently been recognized by Ute Pass Symphony Guild, who now include the Wind Symphony in their July 5th Symphony Above the Clouds lineup at the middle school. So we're finally making headway. I'm going to read from their website some details that are interesting. The Woodland Park Wind Symphony has been in existence for 25 years, which is why we're here tonight. Formerly under the title of the Woodland Park Community Band, it was organized for the purpose of providing adults and children within the community of Woodland Park, Colorado, and surrounding area opportunities to enhance or recondition their instrumental musical skills. Some of us did music when we were a lot younger, and when we have some time when we were retired, we're able to reinvent those skills or find them, actually. Unlike professional musical organizations, whereby the sole purpose is to entertain amateur community musical groups such as the Woodland Park Wind Symphony and now the Swing Factory and Brass Ensemble, were developed to provide not only entertainment and support for Woodland Park, but a source of local musical enrichment for both performers and patrons of the Pikes Peak area. I'm going to ask Mr. Craig Harms, who's the founder and conductor of the Woodland Park Wind Symphony and Swing Factory Big Band, to come forward if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you, Craig. In 1985, Mr. Harms was a Fulbright teacher to London, England. Pretty impressive credential right there. In January of 1989, Mr. Harms left Woodland Park Middle School and Senior High School as director of bands to devote full-time to his own music business, which is Bandfo. Mr. Harms is internationally known as a presenter on the subject of computerized marching band and drum corps drill and pageantry design. Pretty impressive things. I used to help him with his website before he got better than I did at it. So my proclamation that I'm reading tonight is proclamation declaring Sunday, December 2nd, 2018 as Woodland Park Wind Symphony 25th Anniversary Day. Whereas the Woodland Park Wind Symphony, under the direction of Mr. Craig Harms, has been performing in the Woodland Park, Colorado area for 25 years, and whereas these free performances over 25 years, including the annual Woodland Park 4th of July old-fashioned celebration, the Christmas tree lighting following the lighter side of Christmas annual parade, and he's always got his card in that parade if you're looking for him, the holiday home tour, Lights of Love, and the Woodland Park Wind Symphony's annual Christmas concert and spring concert, and other concerts as planned. They usually have a lot more than just two. And whereas these performances are free of charge, and whereas the Woodland Park Wind Symphony is comprised of volunteers, and whereas the Woodland Park Wind Symphony performances bring people to our community from the Pikes Peak area, and whereas the Woodland Park Wind Symphony concerts have highlighted and promoted local groups and events, and whereas the Woodland Park Wind Symphony has become a musical group with a fine reputation for its musical programming and performance, and whereas the Woodland Park Symphony is a source of local musical enrichment for both performers and patrons of the Pikes Peak area, and whereas the Woodland Park Wind Symphony, under the direction of Craig Harms, is a family of people performing music of the people. Now, therefore, the council members of the City of Woodland Park, Colorado, hereby proclaim Sunday, December 2nd, 2018 to be known as the Woodland Park Wind Symphony 25th Anniversary Day, and commends the Woodland Park Wind Symphony for its 25 years of success and supports its future. Done this 15th day of November 2018 in Woodland Park, Colorado. I would like Craig to say a couple words, if he doesn't mind, about his upcoming appearances and concerts or anything else you'd like to say.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much. I'll give my name is Craig Harms. I live on 400 Evergreen Circle and also the Ute Pass Cultural Center. My wife and I have been in this particular community for, over 35 years. We remember when the streets were dirt, and we'd wash our car just to take a look at it because as soon as we drove it out on the road, we knew what it was going to be like. One of the things, and I just want to mention, and it was I was just so inspired by what Lynn did and what she was talking about when it came to Main Street coming up this next week. We try to reflect, with the Woodland Park Wind Symphony, try to reflect Woodland Park and mirror it in the fact that we are a family of people. Many of our members of the Woodland Park Wind Symphony are here this evening, and it's not just because we're musicians, but also at the same time we're really, really good friends. And I think that's part of the thing that's so important for us to remember, is that people move to our community and we try to emulate that same attitude. Nobody has a judgment as to whether they're good citizens or bad citizens, but they're just citizens and they're good friends. And that's kind of one of the things that we do when it comes to having individuals who come in to the Wind Symphony for the first time, is we say, look, we don't audition you, you audition us. And that's basically the same approach we take when it comes to Woodland Park, I think. One of the things that I do want to mention, we do have our concert coming up on the 2nd of December, and that's following the tree lighting on the 1st, and of course the home tour. At the very back table on the counter, we have some cards that basically promotes two of the concerts we're actually presenting. One of the things I want to present, I want to make sure everybody understands, is that at the concert on the 2nd, we're going to have a reception from 6 to 7. We're going to have food. The bar is going to be open. But This year, unlike years in the past, when usually the members of the Wind Symphony brought the food, we have members of the community and vendors and merchants who have been so kind as to offer food for that reception. I'd like to mention the the Ute Inn, Safeway, Beer Works, Joni's, Walmart, and Grandmother's. All of these individuals are going to be bringing in food for us to be able to provide our patrons who come to the concert. The other thing is we also have been so often things come up where I basically I'll come around and I'll be talking to individuals and I'll say, we have this Woodland Park Wind Symphony. It's 50 members. And they'll say, we didn't even know you guys existed. And we've been around for so many years. And I think the thing is that if you haven't had a chance to experience a performance by the Wind Symphony, I think it's really, really a unique situation. We not only present music, but also at the same time, it's multimedia enhanced. And of course, that's on the 2nd. Also, I want to thank those who helped basically recognize us with this 25th anniversary year. Tweeds has been so kind as to send us a beautiful letter. Chamber of Commerce, Karen Casey, the 4th of July, who I've worked with every year for, I don't know how long, to help organize the 4th of July entertainment. And, of course, Woodland Music Series and Mountain Arts Council. I really want to thank them for all their support. But, yeah, that's going to be a great concert on the 2nd. So if you haven't had a chance to hear this particular ensemble, you've got to do it. It's going to be at 7 p.m. is when the concert starts, but at 6 p.m. it's going to be the reception. Then also on the 16th of December, the Swing Factor, which is the big band, jazz ensemble, is going to be presenting a Christmas concert as well. That's free. 6 o'clock reception, 7 o'clock is going to be the concert. And that concert's very unique in the sense we're going to be doing a couple of Stan Kenton charts, and we're going to be featuring actually 9 French horns in a choir along with the big band. So if you get a chance, come to that particular concert. It's great, great music. And once again, it's presented by some wonderful people a lot of them are sitting back there in the back. So thank you very, very much. Val, I appreciate all the work you've done. Thank you very much. And City Council, thank you. You have any questions? Gosh, that's great.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no additions, deletions, or corrections, and we'll move on to the consent calendar and Suzanne LeClaire.
Thank you, Mayor Levy. This evening we have 3 items on the consent calendar, the first being the approval of the minutes of the November 1st City Council meeting, the second item being the approval of the October 2000 Statement of Expenditures, and the third item is the approval of the First Amendment to the 2009 Woodland Station and Disposition and Development Agreement to extend the completion of construction of improvements to December 1st, 2021.
Great, thank you, Suzanne. Darren, if you'll give us a little insight on number C, and then I've got a few people in the audience that'd like to comment.
I don't know if Aaron, if you want to comment too, but the intent is to just update the date, simple amendment to in the First Amendment to the 2009 Woodland Station Disposition and Development Agreement that extends the date to December 1st, 2021. That just allows the city to continue to, gives options to the city up until that date. Aaron, I don't know if you want to add any other comments to it. Charlie?
Thank you, City Manager Benjamin. I think that the City Manager has summarized that very well. It is, in fact, something that gives us the council options. And basically what it does is it just brings into alignment with reality the dates in the Disposition and Development Agreement Exhibit C, which is the schedule for performance. So it catches up that schedule of performance with where we are currently. Council certainly has the prerogative at any time, as long as it can mutually agree with the Downtown Development Authority to make such a change. And so it is recommended that council adopt this First Amendment, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I had one last comment, and that part of the discussion was that the city will be going through a comprehensive planning process in 2020, and to look at this, to extend it beyond that comprehensive planning process where the city, our residents, the entire community would have input on the future of what they envision for Woodland Station and our community in general.
Great, thank you. I've got 4 or 5, Council, you tell me, I've got 4 or 5 people that would like to chat on this. You want to ask questions after they chat? Okay. Let's do it. Mary Jo Larson, I've got you here, but you didn't put a number down. Do you want to talk relative to this, or do you want to wait until public comment on items not on the agenda? Not on the agenda. Okay, thank you. Then next I've got Arden Weatherford.
Good evening. I'm Arden Weatherford. I live at 1191 Rampart Range Road in Woodland Park. Since you're amending a contract with the DDA, it's on the agenda tonight. Let me tell you a little bit about my experience with the DDA. I had a contract with them also. I won't go into great detail, but I trusted them up to May 5th, 2015, when we were ambushed in an executive session meeting. As it turns out, it was an illegal executive session meeting. 3 times in that meeting, we were asked if we could put our building somewhere else in Woodland Park. The building we're talking about this was what my partner Kip Bunru was proposing to build, and we had been quite a ways down the road with this building.
Arden, I'm gonna stop you for a second. I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes, and I'll just ask you to get to the point.
I won't even take 5 minutes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So just to make that clear, the people that were charged with developing Woodland Station 3 times in this meeting tried to get us to move out of Woodland Station. But enough about my experience. How about your own experience with the DDA in recent history? Last spring, the DDA came here asking for you to adjust the boundaries so they can offer TIF agreement to natural grocers. Not even a month later, an email between 2 board members of the DDA about natural grocers said, I don't see any good reason to offer natural grocers a TIF agreement. I think we need to be careful about how oppositional we are. Again, these are the people charged with development or encouraging development in town. The next month they were tabled. The next month they being natural grocers, made a proposal. Month after that, it was tabled. Then the DDA discussed this in executive session. And then the next month, the DDA made a motion not to discuss a TIF agreement at all with natural grocers.
Arden, I'm going to ask you one more time to make this relevant to item number 4C.
It's relevant to this amendment in dealing with the DDA. So to the amendment being discussed tonight, my point on natural grocers is you got hoodwinked, and now the tax money goes to the DDA. And that was the result of what I was just trying to go through. So, as to the amendment, trust your city attorney on this. I never thought I'd ever say this, but I'm glad to see your lawyers here. I think you do have a good lawyer. Amend this agreement, but don't expect development action at Woodland Station. If the DDA balks, you need to take action. Much community effort preceded the contract that was made in 2009.
A lot of people bought into the vision that was outlined in that agreement. There was a lot of meetings at the Cultural Center, this whole visioning. We did that 10 years ago. We opened Beerworks thinking Woodland Station was going to be developed. The hardware store was the first of what was supposed to be 5 lots. Now there are documents circulating proposing to take the property off the table for future development. You can see construction activity all over Woodland Park right now, except at Woodland Station. In an August 2015 email to Mayor Levy about the Aquatic Center moving to the high school, a DDA board member wrote, "The downside is Woodland Station remains as is for now. Not much of a downside if you ask me. It's not like we need to develop it." And that was Tanner Coy. Well, keep in mind who you're dealing with and don't expect development at Woodland Station. Go ahead and amend that contract, but you're going to have to be vigilant. Thank you.
Sir. Okay, next I've got Tony Perry. Tony here? No. It's up to you. You can wait or you can speak now. I don't know what the other is. Yet.
Kind of intermixed at the same time. I'll try to be as succinct as possible. So I'm trying to get better at writing it down because I can pontificate all day long. Tony Perry, 330 Ponderosa Court. I'm also giving you 710 West Highway 24. I'm here representing myself as a citizen. I'm also representing Park State Bank and Trust as President and CEO. I'm also representing a significant group of businesses and citizens who have reached out to me. So, no, I am not just one person. I promise you that. First, I want to tell you where I stand. The bank in 2003 decided to build on 710 West Highway 24. If you understand the TIF, and some of you may not, our delta was approximately $5 million, which means that our bank building, which we pay $85,000 a year in taxes on, plus, unfortunately, during the recession, we got back 4 to 5 businesses in the district that we paid taxes on for a significant amount of years. We have been the #1 contributor to the DDA revenue during that time. In 2003, we did not request a TIF deal because at that time the threshold was but for this TIF deal, the building would not be built. Well, we were committed to not only investing in the community, but also showing leadership and saying that Woodland Park was worth investing in. So that's where we stand. We want to make a commitment tonight that we will not support any financing in Woodland Station. Why do I say that? Because we're motivated to support all the businesses in the district, including those in the DDA and the other businesses around it. And what we want to offer are our significant human and resources to help solve this DDA issue. We still have issues to solve. So we want to play a role in providing leadership to this process. So therefore, we will commit to not entering into a conflict of interest. We promise, and we always have, spoken honestly, honest dialogue with truth without seeking to damage anyone personally. That said, accountability should not be a bad word, and it should not be off limits. You know, we live in a community where we have a lot of great volunteer citizens, a lot of organizations, whether it's nonprofit or city-related, and sometimes we make mistakes as citizens. We're well-intentioned. Maybe we have an idea that we just can't get off of, and we push an agenda that may not necessarily work out very well. It's okay to fire ourselves as citizen volunteers. It's okay to not re-elect some of our city council members. That's how this process works. So let's stop. When we talk about accountability, let's stop pointing fingers and basically saying it's a bad thing. Please. Fact, our DDA did lose the lawsuit, but some of the board members contend they won, and I say if their objective was to retain the lot and not convey it, then yes, the DDA won, at the cost of 60 to 70% of the current probable value of the property, in my opinion. The judge made his assessment very clear in a very simple paragraph at the end of the document. If you believe our city should be known for keeping our commitments and negotiating in good faith to solve mistakes, then we are wrong. The DEA has shown that we're interested in paying attorneys more than making debt payments to our city/citizens.
Tony, I hate to interrupt, but like I held Arden accountable, I'd have you come back. But let's talk right now just about this amendment, and we'll go back.
I'm right to that paragraph.
Thank you.
So tonight our city is showing grace in extending the 2009 agreement between the city and the DDA. At this juncture, I support the city staff's position. However, it should come with higher expectations that we will do a better job on the DDA. Since we are doing some housekeeping, I would also like the council to consider adding 2 additional DDA board members so that they are in compliance with their own bylaws. Their bylaws state that they shall have 11, not up to, but 11 DDA board members. I think what this would do is infuse some new leadership, willing to challenge the status quo in a respectful, productive manner. The DDA can change the bylaws and take it down to 9. They would require a 2/3 vote of the board. Either way, they should come into compliance. So I think the DDA has made progress in the last couple of years. I'll admit to that. We have a lot further to go. We have to change the dialogue. We have to start thinking in a more productive manner, and it can't be dominated by a select few. The final thing I'll just say is that, to give some context, I actually attended the trial, and I actually observed the proceedings. It was recorded. To get an actual transcript, it's about $3 a page. Me and some of the citizens that I'm working with are committed to getting that transcribed for at least the main testimony and cross-examination of the primary defense witness, because I think that will inform us. I think it will allow us to discern things where we can get better as a DDA and as a city. And again, let's not make it personal. Let's find a way to move forward and do it better. We can do it better. We aren't Washington. We can drain our little puddle. We don't have to worry about the swamp. We can just take care of ourselves. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Steve Randolph.
Up front.
Oh, there you go. It's right in front of your name.
Good evening, Steve Randolph, 1211 Mountain Meadows Drive, Woodland Park. I have a letter, 1 page to read, and also a couple of comments. Shouldn't take 5 minutes, but if there's comments and questions, I'm happy to stay as long as you prefer. So, first of all, my condolences, Mr. Levy, Mayor Levy, for having to be the brunt of a lot of criticism that came your way, which should have been directed at me, since I was the one that wrote the letter that you read, simply as a perfunctory matter, as far as I knew. It was just a letter that I asked to be read into the record. And so there was no conspiracy or collaboration going on. I doubt that you even saw it before it was time to read it. Anyway, so that's number one. Number two, I'm here tonight if anybody has anything left over from that letter that they want to direct at me. I'm available. You can talk to me. We can talk later, however you like. Tonight I have another letter.
Steve, before you go forward, excuse me, just want to make sure we're on the same page relative to where we're at on the agenda. If not, I'll call you back under public comment on items not on the agenda.
It was written in order to be on this item on the agenda. If you disagree, then let me know and I'll stop reading it.
We try to make it as easy as possible, so go right ahead.
Okay.
We appreciate your time.
Okay, this is a letter to Mayor Levy and Council, City Manager Tangeman, and staff. Near the end of 2009, it was my duty as mayor to execute the warranty deed transferring title for the Woodland Station tract to the DDA. In consideration of getting the whole 10-acre tract for $10, The authority accepted a requirement to timely accomplish the complete construction of improvements thereon, for which planning had already been underway for some time. To alleviate concerns among various stakeholders, language was incorporated into condition number 7 of the warranty deed that detailed the right of re-entry to the property should the DDA fail to perform as agreed. Judge Lyman's recent ruling affirms the assertion that the breach of a March 19, 2013 development agreement constitutes the failure of at least one DDA responsibility. The court found the DDA to be in breach of a Woodland Station development contract through its failure to perform a prescribed land transfer. The anticipated tax revenue stream projected by former Finance Director Kelly Case at the time now shows little sign of materializing. Rather than promoting new business development at Woodland Station, some board members appear to act in contrast to our community concerns in favor of their personal interests. Despite the quaint notion issuing from some DDA members that we lost but actually we won, City Council remains obliged to enforce the terms of the warranty deed. To avoid losing the right of re-entering the property, City Council must now vote to amend the City DDA agreement or soon forfeit their right to impose that remedy. Without any proposal in evidence, the 3-year deferral is unlikely to allow enough time for the completion of construction of any yet to be announced improvements, but it will at least temporarily preserve the city's rights. Given the pace of DDA debt accumulation, the amounts past due for work completed on prior projects, the irregularities in financial reporting, $276,800 in legal fees, $155,100 judgment pending, $57,500 incurred in loan origination fees, totaling $489,400 in all, to be paid from public funds. The DDA seems to have somewhat misgoverned at least their property development rule for several years running. The failure to safeguard public funds to such extent does not merit the bailout described in the proposed amendment without some type of equivalent consequence. Paraphrasing from this week's The Mountain newspaper, Tanner Coy said the DDA is in good financial health, highlighting that their indebtedness was now $10,000 less than previously budgeted. Squandering $489,000 instead of $499,000 should still warrant an offsetting sanction. For the second time, I call for the resignation of Tanner Coy. Questions or comments? I'm here.
Joel?
Just probably a general comment.
I guess I don't understand why you guys are here if you won the lawsuit. Why are you still pushing whatever you're pushing?
I don't understand why you'd have a question about.
It's a statement more than a question.
Okay.
It's just it seems that you've won the lawsuit. Why is there still this push to go after the DDA? You've already gone after the DDA and won. Why continue to go after the DDA? You feel that the DDA is not living up to your standards? Is that how I see it?
Well, you were on the board for a while.
Right, I do. I know both sides of the story. But I can't talk about a lot of it because it was an executive session. So I think the board is doing the best they can with the things they have to do with. I mean, I've been there. I've seen both sides, and I think the DDA is doing a great job. They're tied down to a lot of negative criticism, but a lot of people that are criticizing them don't understand what's going on.
Exactly, and some of the people who criticize them do understand what's going on, and I would consider myself to be one of those people.
I believe that criticism is very biased, though. It's not non-biased. You have an ulterior agenda. That's how I see it.
Mr. Mayor. It's not appropriate to engage.
You're right. I'm sorry, Steve.
My point of information, or my query for our city attorney is the amendment, if not extended, what are the consequences again?
I would say that would be a discussion for executive session. The basic point would be that the theory would be that the DDA has breached their agreement, and so the city would then have certain rights and certain remedies. And I would be happy to address that further in executive session.
Simply approve or disapprove as part of the consent calendar the extension of the amendment.
The extension of the schedule.
The schedule? Okay.
Correct.
2 years, correct? Is it 3 years?
3 years.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't think I have anyone else signed up for this particular. Michael, you want to speak on this?
Yeah, I do actually.
You put 2 numbers down. Thank you, Steve.
One final comment to address Noel's concern. My interest is along the line of Tony Perry's. We can do better.
Thank you.
The foundation plan calls for better. Let's do better.
Michael Dalton, 413 Woodland Avenue, Woodland Park, Colorado. I'm not sure that I can get an answer just because you may have answered if it has to be answered in executive session. I was really wanting to know what the alternative was if you voted against this, or if there was an amendment to say you can extend the agreement with the DDA as far as their TIF and as far as running the district, but is there a way to change that amendment to where the city takes back control of Woodland Station? It's obviously been under the DDA's control since 2009. Zero development has been done over there except the hardware store, and that came at the cost of active DDA board members saying things like that's the bad part of, or the bad side of town to do business on. That side of the street is a bad side to do business on. I've personally heard DDA board members say they hope that nothing is ever built on that property. Multiple DDA board members. Not only was the DDA in a major lawsuit that they lost in a breach of contract, but their board members were in lawsuits all over the city with other organizations. And so I don't know that it doesn't need to be voted in, because there are very smart, very intelligent people that understand the development of this town, and they have even said extend it. But it's going to be sad to watch nothing happen there for 3 years, because even to build up that property would take 5 to 7 years. As proof of Natural Grocers, it's been 2 years, and we're still not seeing it yet, you know. And so as a citizen, to see the prime piece of town, and I look at it as an aesthetic thing. I have filmed 2 major motion pictures in this town this year that will feature Woodland Park, and all the directors said, please don't point towards the mountain and that vacant lot. And so I would hate 5 years from now to have that same problem, to look at that vacant lot and go, man, what could have it been? And so it may be the right decision to vote for it, to keep this thing going for another 3 years, whatever this thing is. But multiple people have got up and talked about board members, and these aren't just the Woodland Park Underground, these are active business owners. The largest contributor to the DDA got up and talked tonight, and other business owners in town, and telling you there's something wrong in that organization, and the city council needs to take a strong look at it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if I may, I would like to circle back to Councilwoman Harvey's question. What I will say is I believe that the remedies that exist would require legal action. So council would essentially be paying a lawyer. And so you would be incurring legal fees. And that really is, I think, for first and foremost, what you would have to do in order to exercise those remedies. I just want to make that clear.
Thank you. Thank you. You would like to speak now, Mary Jo?
Now I would like to speak.
Thank you.
Mary Jo Larson, Chairman of the DDA, and I would like to remind Council that the DDA has been through a lawsuit and has exposed all the information, and now it is a public record, the truth about what went on and exactly how it unfolded. And I believe what you've heard from the gentleman speaking tonight are only partial truths, and I believe that they are a spin. And I would like, if people are concerned, to go to those documents, which are public record, and read for yourself and know the truth of what happened. We feel that the judges and the courts have made an honest, fair decision, and may we move on from here. And I would request that you extend this amendment, and we could move forward and do a positive development and a positive plan for the downtown of Woodland Park. All of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Jo.
Thank you.
Council, who would like to start? Nobody raising their hand. I'm going to start. And I hope everyone's listening. Somebody said change the dialogue. I can't say it any better. And for me, this kind of conversation is going to stop. The DDA, the DDA, the DDA. From now on, I want that conversation to sound like this: the city and the DDA. Because until we do that, we're not going anywhere. We got very divisive when we removed David Buttery from that board. We've had a hard time bouncing back. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. There's divisiveness on both sides. We all have a part in what we're talking about right now. So I'll be the first one to take responsibility. In this regard, I don't think I've done a great job in getting these two parties to be on the same page. And so that's going to be my focus. Mary Jo and I and others were in a meeting this week that kind of laid out maybe some things for us that might make some sense in moving forward with Woodland Station, specifically having a plan, having a vision, not only for DDA but for the entire community. But as long as we continue to say the DDA this and the DDA that, we're not going anywhere. So please, everybody, let's get together. Let's figure a way out. We've had a session planned prior that got canceled. Once we get all the costs figured out for the lawsuit, please, I'm tired of hearing about it. It's in the rearview mirror for me. There's nothing we can do right now. Let's move forward. Windshield, let's move forward. Let's work together. And you know what? There's a lot in this room that's not very positive, and people have bad things to say about others. And that's almost everybody. It's not going to get us to where we want to be. So at some point, we got to put all these things behind us. And I think the time's right now. Right now. And we got great resources. And Steve left. And Arden's still here. And Tanner's here. And everybody in this audience, for the most part, has been part of this process. You know, what Tony and the bank have done has been amazing. Because they've saved the DDA, or they've contributed to the DDA like nobody else. And they want to be a part of the solution. A lot of people want to be the part of the solution. So let's make a plan to sit down, council, DDA board. You know what? I'll do whatever you all want to do. But let's stop with the DDA and let's stop with the city. This is the DDA and the city from now on. And unless we work together, And everyone knows this right now. And I don't know why I didn't say it before now. I guess it's because we had to wait for the outcome of the trial. But it's time. It's time for everybody to start doing this, right? Like the Boy Scouts doing the Pledge of Allegiance. That's what we're about. This is not what we're about. And so let's get better. Arden, you got great input. I want to hear it. Okay? You don't have to be so divisive. Tony, great input. DDA board members, right? Great input, but we've had some issues along the way. Council, the same, and I'm at the top of the list because I sit here. And so I'm going to take the responsibility because I know it's the right thing to do. And you know me, I lead from right here. And this is what I believe. And I believe that piece of property is going to have value someday. I don't know if it's right now. And if you ask me, I've got no idea what the best thing for that piece of property is right now. I'm not a developer. I don't know. I haven't heard from anybody in this room what the best thing for that is. Until we sit down and have that discussion without this, we're not going anywhere. And I know you all agree with me. So go home and think about it, and then start, and whenever we get those costs in, if it's the first of the year, whenever it is, let's all make a vow right now. We're going to work together, and we're going to do this thing right, and people are going to look at us and say, Woodland Park does it the right way, right? Because we're all tired of the BS. Nobody's going to disagree with me. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to echo and thank you so much for your wise words. I agree with that and I support that wholeheartedly. So I want to thank you very much for your words. It's time
If
to
we
move
have nothing
forward.
else, it is time to move forward.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
And a second. Suzanne?
Thank you. Carr?
Yes.
Case?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Labar?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes.
Soinier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We're going to get this right, I'll guarantee it, because we got the right people in this room to make it happen. Okay, we'll move on, and we have public comment on items not on the agenda, and Colt Simmons is first.
Don't want your hand here, don't we?
Some of us. Some more than others.
This seems like a perfect lead-in for your future assessor, Colt Simmons. You're duly elected assessor-elect for the county. And I just wanted to come and say hi and say on behalf of those of us who got elected by you all to the county jobs last week, we're here to serve you. I've been here before, made a promise to be here quarterly. And I believe in transparency, transparency, and transparency. So a couple comments as your future county assessor. Here to serve. Myself, the sheriff, the coroners, the treasurer, everyone who got elected, we're here to serve you all, here to be part of the team. I'd like to take a personal interest in the DDA. And I'd like to think about those words from that very famous comedian, those words of wisdom from Larry the Cable Guy. Get her done. I'm a rocket science guy. We put people on the moon. We're going to Mars. That's what I've done out of Space Command and being an incident commander. We deploy. So it seems like we can do that. We can get this DDA thing fixed. And I'd like to be part of the equation. Come and listen. From I guess a personal perspective, maybe a county perspective. Maybe an astrophysicist has some ideas on this thought on how we can address this. Along with my friends, along with Mark Salusta, who is a certified genius, MacArthur Grant guy. And but we're here to help. I just wanted to come and say thank you to you all for supporting this, if you did. And if you supported the other guys, that's great too. We're all on this team together. So I assume office on January 8th, and looking forward to that. If you all want to come on down to county headquarters,
Cripple Creek on January 8th in the morning. I'd like to have you all down. We'll have some munchies afterwards and then some meetings. So I just want to let you know, we're here to help, here to serve. We got some business cards if you all want them, the public too. Looking forward to serving you all. Did 30 years almost in the Air Force, around the world, in space as well, as a Space Command guy. And we're not afraid to roll up our sleeves and get her done.
Thank you very much.
On this note, I would like to thank the current assessor, Betty Clark-Line. She used to sit up here, I understand, and for her service here, and then for her service over the last 8 years as county assessor. She's had a tough job. No one wants to be the tax man or the tax woman, and she's done it. She's done well. And I want to wish her the very, very best in the future, and I would hope you do that too. And all those who have served and continue to serve. So I just wanted, as your future servant and assessor, here to say hi. I go by Colt. My mother and my wife call me David, but my friends call me Colt. Hope they're not late for dinner. Look forward to, again, working with you all from the county perspective. I've already met Mary Jo, and there you are, and getting smart on the DDA. And maybe myself and Mark Salusta, maybe a Bob Campbell, who's a brilliant man in many, many respects. Maybe we have some inputs for you guys.
Thank you very much, sir.
So we're here to serve. Any questions for your future assessor at this time?
Not until we get our bill.
Say again, sir?
Until we get our bills.
By the way, we'll be doing evaluations next year.
Thank you.
Yeah. And but hey, next week is Thanksgiving. I want to wish you all happy Thanksgiving from the county. We'll be here to work with you all, and we're looking forward to the challenges and being part of your team.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions for me?
Okay, next,
Thanks again.
Darwin Nacarado. Darwin, you want to speak now?
Hello, Darwin Nacarado. I live here in Woodland Park, 14 Craig Court. Just want a quick announcement that as the chair of the Community Investment Committee, I wanted to let the public know that the application for the current year, actually for 2019, is now on the city's website, and as well as applications having been sent to previous applicants. That's all I needed to say. Get in a plug for the committee, and I'm done. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving. Nothing else?
That's it.
Okay.
You look nice tonight.
Thank you. Okay, I've got nobody else signed up for public comment. Do we have anybody? Michael?
I didn't want to do both in that other section. So.
I appreciate it. We'll give you another couple.
2019, I just entered a film here. I know that that's a big discussion still happening. I pray that with the feeding fines, it doesn't embarrass what we've already talked about, but yeah, it's an international film festival. It's normally open to the outdoors and hunting community, but they accepted my film on urban deer in Woodland Park, so there you go.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations, Michael. Okay, we move on to ordinances on initial posting, and Mike Farina.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an ordinance that establishes two new special funds, or special revenue funds, as they're known in governmental accounting. One of them is for a lodging tax that the city collects and receives. It is a voter-approved revenue for specific purposes, and it originally was accounted for, lodging tax was originally accounted for in the general fund for transparency and accountability purposes. It was decided to go ahead and create its own fund so you could see exactly what the lodging tax is going to be used for, common accounting practice. Also, we also collect or receive conservation trust monies from the state lottery, and those also are restricted to certain purposes, and therefore it was a good idea to also create a special revenue fund for the conservation trust funds that we receive. By charter, the city council has to create these new funds, so that's what this ordinance is here for you to do. Question?
Thank you. Go ahead, Don.
I congratulate you on this. This is terrific news as far as I'm concerned. More transparency on these different delineations of accounting are going to be tremendously helpful, in my opinion. So thank you very much.
Anyone else, council? Doing public comment, if anybody would like to comment on ordinance number 1336. If not, we're on initial posting. I just need a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve ordinance 1336 and set the public hearing for December 6th.
Second.
And a second. Suzanne?
Case?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Labar?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes.
Saunier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Mike, I'll let you continue.
All right. Next up is ordinance number 1337. It's an ordinance that is commonly known as a supplemental appropriation. It is an ordinance that adjusts the expenditure appropriations for 2018. The original budget was adopted on December 21st, 2017. This ordinance will amend that budget in several different funds. One of the funds is the general fund, and we did talk about this revision, this necessary revision, and revisions to the other funds at the Tuesday meeting. I'll just briefly state what those amendments are here again tonight. Increasing the general fund by $99,300. That is, there's multiple factors, but it's primarily the city manager recruitment and also legal expenses related to the DDA lawsuit. In the grants fund, we're increasing that by $12,900. That is completely grant revenue that we've received to send 13 attendees to a COVA conference. It also amends the Downtown Development Authority budget by $489,400. That's for the judgment cost, the legal fees associated with the lawsuit, the cost of the debt issuance for the DDA, so that budget needed to be amended to appropriate those funds. It's all, the revenue for that was the loan that was approved with Vectra. Lastly, it's an amendment for the new lodging tax fund and the conservation trust fund. Those two that will be created at the next meeting. So take care of those in 2018 and then also budget for those revenues in 2019 as well. Any questions?
Mike, you mentioned when you were talking about the general fund about DDA legal expenses. Was that a misstatement, misspeak?
No, those are expenses by our city attorney that in staff consulting with our city attorney.
Thank you.
And I'd be happy to answer any more detailed questions about that.
That's okay. I just wondered if that was actually the case. Thank you.
Anything else, council? Anyone in the audience like to comment on 1337? Okay, motion to approve on initial posting.
I move to approve ordinance number 1337, adjusting expenditure appropriations to the various funds for the budget year 2018. Public hearing set for December 6, 2018.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Harvey?
Yes.
Labar?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes.
Saunier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Case?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne.
All righty. This is an ordinance to consider on initial posting and also set a public hearing for the 2019 annual budget. We've had multiple council meetings and work sessions regarding the budget. We've highlighted and presented all of the different expenditures within the funds with council at all of those council meetings. So I won't go into too much detail here on initial posting as to what those were. I just would want to point out a couple of things. The general fund balance, the main priority for the 2019 budget was to get the general fund balance between 17 and 20%. We did achieve the 17%, along with accomplishing several objectives that will benefit the city. With that, any questions?
One, I'd just like to let everybody know that the budget process this year was, I think, as good as we've had in the last number of years. We got, as Mike said, top 8, 9, 10 priorities accomplished, which is amazing and will be beneficial for our whole community. Not to mention the fact we're going to have more than $500,000 more in the bank. And so all those things were very concerning to our council and to the community, and I think we got a great budget. I think the council will agree. One thing, council, that I'd like to bring up, we kind of rushed over it, and when I went home I was thinking about it, relative to council food. I would just like to have some agreement in this regard. Sometimes, we said no council food. We kind of went from one extreme to the other. Sometimes we have a budget meeting at 4, and then we have council right after, and it's a long time in between. So can I get some kind of consensus that on days where it makes sense, in other words, if we have a 5:30 meeting, we're going to be out of here at 7:30, that's one thing. But if we're going to be here for a while, I think it makes sense to be able to offer food. Comments?
I thought about it also after I left, and there's I think we've had times where we've been here for 6 hours.
Right.
And so I think it just depends on how long we're going to be here. I don't see any problem with pulling it out of the council budget. I mean, that sounds appropriate.
And you can have it out of the mayor's budget. It doesn't matter. It's not much money. It's
Darren's
a couple
budget.
$100. Right. It's not much, but can I get consensus on that? Kelly, you got a comment?
I do. I'm probably the biggest opponent to it, but I just think that as long as it's reasonable and we don't get carried away with it.
Bingo. Like everything else?
Absolutely. I mean, if it makes sense, I don't have a problem with that. I just don't think it needs to be the exception and not the rule.
I don't
think we all.
We've never been carried away. I mean, we're not getting steak. We're not getting prime rib. We're getting sandwiches from City Market.
So many meetings with Hiram Darren and with budget. It's just kind of an anomaly this year. We'll get back to normal, and assuming everyone will agree with that, we'll put that to Mike, and he'll know how to manage that.
It's just like my mother said, everything in moderation.
It's okay. Everything?
It's cool. Sure. Why not?
Council, any other comments on 1339 or from the community? If not, we'll call for a motion to approve and set the public hearing for December 6th.
Motion to approve ordinance 1339 as posted.
Second.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Labar? Yes. Levy?
Yes.
Sonier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Case?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
And in advance of passing this in 2 weeks, I want to thank council, I want to thank staff. Really great job. I think we worked together as well as we have, and so maybe we're just laying a great foundation for future years, so thanks very much.
I'd like to compliment Darren for hitting the ground running. Budget is not an easy document, and it's not an easy one to prepare. And I'm impressed, and thank you to all staff for your hard work and efforts in putting together a good document and work plan for next year.
Absolutely. Okay. We move forward public hearings, and we'll start with Sally Riley on Ordinance 1338.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Ordinance 1338 is a legislative item. It's adding to our municipal code a prohibition on feeding or baiting wildlife within the city limits. It's a fairly simple ordinance that adds a definition for the wildlife, which is dangerous wildlife such as bears, deer, and lions. So there's also a provision in this ordinance for a penalty for various violations. First violation is a $350 penalty. Second violation would range from $450 to $550, and then a third violation is a $1,000 fine, and possible imprisonment not more than a year. This was reviewed by our current municipal court judge and prosecutor and was endorsed by them, as well as we had worked very closely with the police department and the wildlife division, and I would like to introduce to you wildlife manager Phil Bruley. He is here this evening to give you an idea of the importance of having this new legislation in place.
There a moment for a question?
You want to do it now? Sure.
I'm just shocked at the amount of the fine. And I'm going to say right up front, I spoke with Darren when he first came on after you guys began it down. I said, yeah, I would consider going for penalize people for feeding wildlife, but I've never had any idea of the success of that. Not big to say. It just makes any sense. I mean, I understand not feeding animals, you know, and allowing them to just go wild.
I can speak to that if you like. I totally understand where you're coming from, but we have these laws to change behavior. And at this point, I've seen the list. I'm Phil Gurley. I'm a district wildlife manager out of the Springs. I'm actually filling in for Tim Craning tonight. And I helped Tim, and I've seen the list of feeders. Nobody cares about the fine. And we have fines like this that go up exponentially in the Springs, well, throughout the entire state. Feeding of bears is one of those fines because at that lower range, people don't care. And we do, because we're the ones that have to respond. I responded just this morning to a fawn that, 3 fawns that were being taken care of by an individual that they were not feeding them the right stuff. The one fawn died. It's something that we hold dear. This is why we do this job, is to protect the animals, to protect the wildlife. And it's to hold people accountable for doing stuff like this, because we have to respond to that. You know, and then we're the ones that get yelled at for it. And by having these fines raise up exponentially, it's holding those people accountable and showing them that we're serious about this. There's a plethora of things that go on with the feeding of wildlife. You know, the spread of disease. I know I kind of heard some chuckling when we said dangerous wildlife. Last year we had a lady that was in her 70s that got attacked by a buck who had been fed in Black Forest, broke her arm in 3 different places. That buck was euthanized, but that buck was used to people. When these animals get used to people, they no longer have a fear of us, and so they will challenge us. And it was in November when the bucks were rutting, and he challenged that lady, and she did not have a way to protect herself. Her neighbor had to come over with their vehicle to move that buck out of her yard. And so I get what you're saying. The fines go up exponentially, but it's to change behavior, because that's what needs to happen.
Sir, you got more experience in this than we do. I'm sure you've raised fines in other places in your experience. How does that manifest itself? Does it make a difference? My concern with this is, you know, I can't see Miles guys running around giving citations to people, because I would argue they have better things to do, maybe not. Tell us what that looks like, and the value of the fines we're talking about. You think they're too high? You think we could, you know, go somewhere in between? What are your thoughts?
I don't think they are too high, because right now the state fine that we give is $70.50, and we've had feeders just tack up a check right there. Boom, here's my fine. Because most of the feeders aren't hunters and fishermen, so the point system doesn't apply to them. So they're not losing anything. They're spending. We had one feeder in Colorado Springs that would spend anywhere between $800 and $1,200 a month just on food to feed animals. And so $70.50 is a drop in the bucket for them. And so I think these fines are right where they should be, and they do get people's attention, and they do rein that back. The feeding of bears is one of those fines that go up exponentially, and we've had one lady return to feeding bears. Usually when they start going up, people stop. When the fines go up, people stop doing it. We did have the one lady in Colorado Springs that did continue, and I can't remember the outcome of that one, the Medina case. 6 bears got euthanized, and we made it public. And I know she had some big fines, and she is on probation. So,
Mr. Mayor, 1 second. Paul, you have anything to add?
Colorado Springs just passed the fine ordinance today?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I thought you were the game warden down there.
I am, but it's my first city council meeting, so I know my supervisor has been doing city council meetings. I'm more than happy to give you his information, and he can. Okay.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I unfortunately left my notes at home on this ordinance, Sally. I have a similar concern in that, and I don't remember if we have a warning process, an initial warning, or if we just go straight into the fine process. I apologize for not bringing my notes with me.
We can always start with a warning. There's discretion, and certainly that is usually our approach, is to try to get voluntary compliance without writing a citation.
So one of my aspects of that is that there may be some people who are, obviously there's some intentional feeders, but there's some people who may not have a clue that their behavior is contributing to this problem. And those are the people we really don't want to penalize. We tell them that this is a problem and here's why. Don't leave your garbage out in the street for 20 days or something, the obvious things. But don't leave your garbage out in your yard either.
Our approach is always informational and educational with our first contact, but we will also inform them of the potential of these penalties in the future.
My preference would be to start out with a warning and then a smaller than 350. After you do a warning and a first, whatever it is, $100, whatever, pick a number, council would decide that, or somebody else would decide that. Then we start to ramp it up, because then we know they're intentionally doing poor behavior, but that's just my opinion.
Process now is warning, fine, and then more fine?
Well, it would be a warning with an educational component for the first approach, and then it would be a summons to court if there is a continuous violation.
Is that the way the ordinance is written at this point? Okay, thank you. That's what I was curious about.
Mr. Mayor, that is how our other offenses are written as well. This is not an exception.
What are the thoughts, council?
The attorney was going to comment on
Yes, we have a general provision in our code for fines that allows the municipal judge to issue a fine up to $1,000. There are exceptions to that. I'm not aware of any violations currently in the code that set a minimum fine for a first offense. So this is an exception to that this ordinance sets a minimum fine for a first offense of $350 and a minimum fine for a second offense of $450, and then a minimum or $550 for any other offenses. Third and subsequent violations may result in a fine up to the $1,000, and that's what's consistent with the general penalty provisions in our municipal code.
Do we have other fines that eventually end up with jail time? We do?
Oh, yes. I would say the standard general penalty provision in the city code is a fine up to $1,000, gives the municipal court the authority to issue a fine up to, or impose a fine up to $1,000, and jail time up to 1 year. So that is just standard in the code.
Kelly?
Wow.
Question is, does leaving your trash out and a bear getting into it constitute feeding?
So yes, it does, but we educate. So kind of what you guys were talking about, we do educate folks.
And that's the way it should be.
Yep.
Because actually, it's the animals that suffer for our poor behavior and our poor choices. And so this really, with the education component and the opportunity to engage with them and let them understand what they're causing and the harm they're causing to the animals, is a great opportunity. And then if they still choose to behave badly, if you will, then that's the way it should be. And so having the opportunity to offer education and help them to understand the consequences of what they're doing is the perfect way, I think, to start addressing.
And I think we do reach a lot of people like that, because everybody up here in Woodland Park loves the animals. They love the deer, they love the bears, they like seeing them. And so I think the education portion is a great start to informing the public, and then they keep an eye on their neighbors. Hey, you're not supposed to do that, or hey, check this out. This is an easier way to do it. So.
Right. And I've always said, we're living in their area, and so I think that it's a good way, at least to get started on a problem. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
How do we discern between someone who has bird feeders out and the deer are eating those, and someone who has a large garden and the deer is eating the garden, and someone who has lots of vegetation, the deer are eating the vegetation versus, because what my concern is I don't want to see residents that are turning each other in because deer are eating feed out of bird feeders, and it's somebody who's possibly low income or senior citizen, and they may get educated, but they put their bird feeders back out again, and then they're going to get fined $350. And to me, that is an excessive amount. That could be half of their paycheck for the month. So they're going to have to then determine between paying their heat, paying their water bill, and getting their groceries because they had bird feeders out, or...
Gotcha. And that goes back to the whole education portion, because bird feeders are huge. My wife loves birds, and so I have a ton of bird feeders. But it's being responsible with those bird feeders, and I know bird seed is not cheap. So obviously, if they're feeding birds, they're spending a little bit of money. And there's actually seed catchers that they sell at Lowe's and whatnot. And that's one way to catch all that seed before it hits the ground. The deer typically are not going to come in and be able to reach that seed. And so that's one way to, that goes back to the education portion.
And I have to say something interesting to point out in your argument. You keep saying, well, people spend $800 a month to feed them. Well, people spend a lot of money on bird feed. Well, so apparently these people are affluent who are doing this. So then how is $350 going to stop them?
Well, I think once they continually get that fine, that's where it's going to hurt them.
Hillary, I think there's an exception in the ordinance for bird feeders to start with, and two, if someone, you call in your neighbor because the bird feeder's feeding the deer, and then we go through the process, right? They get a warning the first time, and education, so take that down. So it's not going to happen on the first time. I agree with you that the fine seems exorbitant to me also, and if that's everyone's...
No, not mine.
Okay. Who else has an issue with that? And if we change it, Hillary would be my question, change it from $350 to $175, just cut it in half. You think that makes any difference either side?
Personally, I completely understand where you're coming from, and it's incredibly frustrating that people do this in the first place. I'm all for wildlife. I think it is ridiculous and completely ignorant that people do it. I don't know how fining my citizens is going to solve. I know one of our problems is the excessive deer population, and I don't see how fining my citizens is going to improve the deer population decreasing immediately.
I don't think we're talking about decreasing the population. I think we're talking about
feeding in general.
Yeah, feeding in general and the condition of the deer. A lot of what they do get fed, they can't process, and we do pick up quite a few fawns that do get compaction in their intestines from bird seed and whatnot, and so I don't necessarily think we're talking about the decreasing.
I'll just be very frank. I don't see it as a solution to anything other than further regulating and fining my citizens. So I can't support it. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Val.
I find the exponential curve a problem for the same reason. The willful feeders are the ones we're really after, the willful feeders. And there's so many people who are inadvertently feeding. And I really worry about a warning and then ramping up to that level. I would like to really start low on those, because about the third time, you're going to know when you have a willful violator. But up until then, you're just penalizing probably a lot of seniors. I live in a neighborhood, frankly, that has a treacherous driveway, and we have to decide if we're going to risk breaking our neck trying to get the thing down there because of a problem with bears coming around. And so, a lot of neighborhoods in this town are the same way. So, you know, if we're looking at a $350 fine because we had to put our trash out the night before, we don't do that anyway, frankly, but there are people in my neighborhood who do. It's because they can't get it out in the morning because the snow comes or something like that. So my feeling, Mr. Mayor, was that a lower starting level. I really think we need a lower starting level after the warning. And once we get to maybe the third or fourth, then we start to get into the willful violators.
You know what, for me, I don't want to get into the third or fourth. I think that's ridiculous. Yeah. But let's have Miles chat on this a little bit.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to weigh in a little bit. This is just one component of a number of things that we do out there. I'm going to use the bear problem that we had here about 3 or 4 years ago as an example. We had a lot of bears getting into a lot of trash. A lot of bears are getting trapped and relocated or euthanized. Parks and Wildlife brought their Bear Aware folks in. They did a phenomenal job of doing a lot of education around here. As a result, we don't have nearly as many bear problems as we did. Shifting over to the deer issue, we got a lot of deer. I mean, it's no secret that we have a lot of deer. We have a lot of deer accidents out here. We got to do something about it. One of the many tools that we can use is a fine. Parks and Wildlife, we already have a fine for $70 and $70.50. So we already have that component. I can write that ticket as a city cop, and so that already is one of my tools that I can use. So the assumption right now is that we're going right from $0 to $350. That's incorrect. The other assumption is that we're not actually using our discretion, which we use on a daily basis. So just because we find an elderly citizen that's out there feeding their birds and a deer gets in their bird feeder, we're not going to go out there and find them. We'll do some education. We'll refer them to Parks and Wildlife. Parks and Wildlife keeps an active list going of who they've talked to, who they haven't talked to. We also keep that list. And so this is just one component, because some people don't care if it's a $70 ticket. That's fine. We've got something for that now, okay? Because right now we don't really have something for that. So it's multiple things that we're going to have to put together to try to figure out how we're going to handle this deer issue, and this is just one component of it. And so I think that keeping in mind that we do use our discretion a lot. Not everybody that gets pulled over gets a ticket. That's a perfect example. Same thing with this. Yes, there's a steep fine, and it is to modify people's behavior. I would much rather give somebody a ticket for feeding a deer and curb their behavior as opposed to having to figure out some kind of a deer hunt or something like that down the road. But we've got a lot of animals here. This is just going to be one extra tool that we will have that we can use to deal with the people that are feeding these animals. And a lot of it is education. We get a lot of folks that move into town that have no idea that it's illegal. And so we'd much rather have a conversation with them saying, quit throwing out the Safeway biscuits that you had left over from dinner for the deer. I've seen that happen. Please don't put the big salt lick in front of your front door so you can watch the deer in the fall. I've seen that happen. Please don't go out there with a bucket of corn from the 50-pound bag in your garage and dump it on the front lawn so you can watch the deer. I've watched that happen. Those are the people we're talking about. We're not looking to be punitive towards our citizens. We're looking to educate them. And this is just one of many tools that we need to use. And hopefully we can start curbing this deer issue. So that's my perspective on it. I would absolutely like to see this move forward. Yes, it is a high fine, but we have warnings. We have a state fine for $70.50. There are some intermediate steps before they do get that $350 ticket.
Has anybody ever gotten 2 citations that you know?
For the $70 one, yes.
Yeah.
So
count them on one hand.
Yes.
And I think it's also important to point out to council that there is a knowing standard in this offense. It had been stated earlier that someone inadvertently feeding would be subject to this violation and subject to these fines, and that's just not true. The standard is a knowing standard. So you'd have to knowingly feed the animals in order to be in violation of this ordinance.
Please understand my position. My position is for clarification so that the community, our citizens, understand what we're trying to accomplish up here. Not just to say these fines are excessive. There's been some clarification put in the mix here. That's the objective here, so that the news, cameras, YouTubes can understand we're asking questions to clarify that we're not going to just get out there and pound our citizens. Because at first hearing this, I knew nothing about these other avenues. So these questions are very important to me, and the answers are extremely important to me, and I hope to the citizens so that they understand how we come to our conclusion, or I come to my conclusion.
So Paul, are you good with warning $70, $350, $450? That's what we're looking at now.
I can live with it.
Anybody else?
I'd like that 350 cut in half, like you said.
You know, it's the third time?
Well,
Yeah, the third time, if you
So it's warning,
haven't figured it out by the third time, there's something wrong with you.
Is the 70 in the ordinance, though?
So tell me the process. So that's what I mean. Right now, if this passes, we go warning, and then what?
Our standard procedure is always starting with a warning and an education.
Next?
Then next, if you do not have voluntary compliance to the prohibition of knowingly feeding the dangerous animals, then it would be a summons into court, and the judge would decide that that first violation would be a $350 fine.
Obviously up to the judge's discretion.
Judge's discretion.
And then where do we go after that?
Then, after their first violation and judgment in court and payment of their fine, if they are back into court with a second summons, then the judge can determine to go $450.
Kelly?
Counsel, I don't know that everyone is remembering the folks here that have talked to us. Miles has said that they use their discretion. They're wise people. They're people out on the street that experience this every day. They talk to the folks, they use their discretion, and they use their minds to make good decisions and choices whether or not they're going to write a summons. It may not be the second time that they go out and visit. Maybe they didn't understand. And only the person on scene can make that determination. They're keeping track of people that are feeding regularly, and they have a list of folks. Those are the people that are knowingly violating something that's already in existence at the state level. That's there. That's available. As Miles said, that's a tool that they can use and are using before we ever get into court and these fines that are in this ordinance. So there's lots of opportunity here for people to use their good judgment and to talk with folks and help them understand the consequences of feeding. It's not like we're going to go out there and slam them with a hammer. We're going to talk to people and help them understand what they're causing. So I think we have what we need. Miles says this gives them the tools they need to start addressing the problem that we have with the deer. So I think, in my opinion, I'm good with where we're at, and I trust that our police officers and our officers in code enforcement are going to use good judgment in exercising the tools we're giving them.
And our judges.
Absolutely.
And Kelly, I completely agree with you that our city and our police officers are using exercising judgment. For me, it's no issue with that, but like you just said, they have a list of the people who feed continuously, so the many have to suffer for the action of the feeding. And I completely agree with that.
And that's unfortunately the way it is in many circumstances.
I've got Doug Ball signed up. Is Doug here? There he is. I've got you signed up for two things, sir. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. My name is Doug Ball. I live at 1050 Winter Green Court, and I strongly support the fines that are in this ordinance. I had a neighbor that was feeding deer and feeding them twice a day and putting piles of grain out. And some days you can count 2 dozen, sometimes 3 dozen deer down there fighting over the grain, challenging each other. Bucks, in rut would be, hammering away. And the thing that nobody's talking about here is the damage to the neighbor's property, their trees, their bushes, because especially the ones that with the horn, the bucks are sitting there rubbing their antlers and they're scraping your bark and it kills your trees. I lost a bush and a small tree, and then my whole yard became like a place they would sleep at night. Like of the 2 or 3 dozen, a dozen would hang out and wait for breakfast in the morning. They'd sleep in my yard and they just dig up everything. So I've lost all my grass and on probably half of my property, almost an acre. So I'm paying a fine for these people feeding the deer, because I don't know what it would cost for me to replace it. I probably won't do it. I'll just leave it dirt. But I had grass out there holding my hill together. Now it's just a big storm in July. Not all half my dirt, but a lot of my dirt washed away because of that. So then they stopped feeding the deer, and miraculously within a week, there's only a few deer around. And since then, nobody's raking their antlers on the trees. They kind of come by and they check to see if there's some food out there. There isn't, and they move on. So now I might see 4 deer a day, 1 deer a day. So I think the fines need to be scary enough to at least scare some people straight.
Hey, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Council, we got a lot of work ahead. Can we get to call for the question?
Move to approve the ordinance as written.
I'll second.
Suzanne?
Thank you. Levy?
Yes.
Saunier?
No.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
No.
Case?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Labar? No. Motion carries 4-3.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will move on. And before we do that, I have an announcement to read. Council members use electronic devices to access the materials relevant to the public hearing before us. Be assured that it is common practice of this City Council that these devices are not being used for texting, emailing, and other communications during these public hearings. And so we move on to item 8B, and Sally Riley.
Thank you, Mayor. This item, 8B, is the Paradise of Colorado No. 4 final plat. It is a request by the property owner, North Peak Properties, and the developer, Mark McNabb, for a major subdivision on 19.27 acres that will develop 22 residential lots plus a 50-foot road right-of-way known as Lachlan Way and a small section of Thunder Ridge Drive located here in Woodland Park. And this is tonight's hearing. Here's a general exhibit of the location of the new subdivision toward the northeast of Majestic Parkway and Thunder Ridge Drive. Here is an aerial photograph of the 19 acres. Outlined in red is the approximate boundary of filing number 4. I'd like to point out at the top of this is the city's newest water tank, and Lachlan Way has been roughed into this water tank since 2005. And now this is all developed with the new road. Also point out Thunder Ridge, which a small portion of Thunder Ridge has been developed adjacent to this site, as well as the currently improved Regal Way and Spacious Skies. Wanted to show you the zoning map so that you can see that this area is zoned suburban residential, and the site is located up in this portion of the map adjacent to Regal Way and Spacious Skies. This is part of the master plan that was approved in 2005, and the preliminary plat that is part of the Top of Paradise Filing 1 master plan The site is the 22 lots that's up in this northeast corner of the preliminary plat. This is the 2005 preliminary plat, which is still valid and will be nearly completed with development. The area outlined in blue was approved in 2008. It was 25 lots on 29 acres. And then in November of 2017, we had 3 lots that were platted on Spacious Skies. And then filing number 4 is shown in red. This was planned for 24 lots. The developer has decided to eliminate a few of the steepest lots, and he has done a very nice job of laying out the 22 lots so that they are all buildable and very, very nicely laid out in this subdivision. Few photographs of the site. This is Spacious Skies and Lachlan Way. And then on the lower portion, you can see that this is Thunder Ridge, the little section that still needs to be completed, and the retaining walls that were installed back in 2008. Here is the new portion of Lachlan Way that is facing south toward the peak. And then up at the top of Lachlan Way, you can see the city's water tank, which was deeded over to the city in 2008. There were 2 lots in this development that were considered hillside lots, and our requirement is for the developer to submit a site plan, a preliminary site plan for a hillside lot to prove that you can locate a home on a lot, meet the setbacks as well as the driveway standards, which is what has been done for Lot 14 and Lot 15. So both these lots, although they're classified as hillside lots, they are buildable, and the developer has proven that with this submittal. As far as code compliance, Title 17.24 has the standards for a final plat, and it does conform to the preliminary plat. It has been drawn by a licensed surveyor, and the Mylar will be submitted, in fact, tonight, should this pass, for signatures. The supplemental materials engineering plans were approved back in August in order for the paving of the roadway to be completed. The park capital fees of $40,524 were reviewed and calculated by the Parks Board. The development agreement is in your packet this evening for the 2 very small outstanding improvements that still need to be made. That is the extension of Thunder Ridge and then the expansion of the existing detention pond in order for it to have the capacity for the stormwater. There has been title insurance has been submitted to us for the roadways. The drainage report was approved in July and then updated in October. As far as design standards, it meets the purpose of a final plat as a well-designed subdivision conforming to the preliminary plat with adequate services for utilities. The site is suitable for development, has adequate fire protection, utility connections, drainage, grading, erosion control, and the addressing the 2 hillside lots. The streets and easements will be dedicated as a result of this plat. They have been reviewed by the construction inspector and the utility departments, various utility agencies, so we're in good shape with easements. As far as the frontage, single-family lots require to have a 40-foot frontage. There are 3 lots in this site. 2 are flag lots and 1 lot up by the water tank that do not have the 40-foot of frontage, so we are requesting a variance to that. They do have adequate access with the flags and with the water tank access. That was actually granted as part of the deed to the city, was access to Lot 7. The street names have been approved and have been assigned numbers. Mentioned easements, they are all adequate, and we have made sure that those retaining walls have adequate easements for protection as well as maintenance. And there is a maximum of a 20% site coverage. So complies with all the design standards. This plat was referred out to Public Works and Utilities, Parks and Rec, as well as various providers of utilities. Their comments were integrated into the plat. Public notices were done according to our standards and requirements. The Park Board reviewed this on October 10th and recommended the collection of park capital fees. And this was established years ago that these fees would be used for the Paradise Estates neighborhood and specifically development of Chimney Park or other amenities in the Thunderbird and Paradise. Planning Commission reviewed the plat on October 25th and unanimously voted to recommend approval. So with that, staff does and Planning Commission recommend 2 motions this evening. The first motion is to approve the plat with the variance for lots 7, 19, and 21 with the 5 conditions. However, all these conditions now have been met as of tonight. The Mylar is ready to sign. We do have edits to the retaining wall easements along Regal Way. The park capital fees were remitted to the city on November 8th. The title insurance was provided to us on November 11th. The covenants were also submitted on November 13th, and attached to your packet is the subdivision development agreement and a letter of credit for those minor outstanding improvements for $63,231. That is 150% of the cost of these improvements. So that's the first motion, is to approve the plat with the variance to Lot 7, 19, and 21. The second motion is with respect to the subdivision development agreement and accept the guarantee in the form of an irrevocable letter of credit from Park State Bank in the amount of $63,000. Happy to answer any questions. The developer and his engineer are here this evening, as well as Tony Perry representing the property owner.
Sally, thanks for the presentation. Question for you, and I wrote it down, make sure I get it right. The Thunder Ridge extension, will that continue to be the cobblestone or the brick, or is that going to be, what will that be? That extension, is that brick already, or no, am I thinking of a different road?
A portion of it is the cobblestone, but then the developer has chosen to use asphalt, full-depth asphalt for the remainder of that.
Thank you. Paul?
It will be best described by the engineer. So if we can get any other questions, and then we'll bring up the developer and the engineer to answer that.
Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just a quick question. You mentioned there's 3 variances, I believe. The Board of Adjustment reviewed those, or how are those?
No, sir. For a subdivision, it is City Council who is empowered to grant those.
So as part of this motion, there will be?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes.
Carol.
It's pretty straightforward, and it's a beautiful piece of property, but it's the first time I've heard you describe the hillside lot requirements. How long has that been in effect, and how does that work?
Well, it's been in effect since '99, since I've been in the planning department, and it is a function of a preliminary plat. And it's checked at the time of final plat. But if we haven't seen a new preliminary plat come forward in many, many years in Woodland Park, so that's why you haven't heard of the hillside lot. And it goes into effect if the 50% or greater of the land mass of that lot is steeper than 30%. So that's the criteria for a hillside lot. And then it kicks in this process to evaluate each of those lots.
I haven't heard that since I've been here.
I know, and there are a couple of lots that are still in my cul-de-sac that I can't imagine are buildable, but they're being sold as being buildable. But, another story. I have questions about the covenants, but I guess it would be better to ask the developer.
It would, yes.
Anything else before we bring the engineer up? Kelly?
The security letter of credit, is that at 150%?
It is, yes.
Okay, let's hear from the engineer and possibly from Mark after that. Sir, if you just give us your name and address before you start, and when you do start, you can talk about water and retention.
Okay. My name is Mike Bramlett. I am with JR Engineering. We are in Colorado Springs at 5475 Tech Center Drive.
Thank you.
I'm also a resident of Paradise Estates and live across the street from the pump that gets the water. We were the civil engineer for this development. We were also the civil engineer for the original development of Top of Paradise, as we spoke in 2005. I was aware that the neighbors had drainage concerns. In fact, I was a neighbor that had drainage concerns in 2010 and 11 when the development was being built and some of the erosion control was not in place. We had water coming through our lots. So one of the first things we did is we met with Doug Ball and Dan McClendon. Doug Ball's here. Those two individuals had taken on for the community an opportunity, or taken on the task of trying to define what the community's drainage concerns were. Most of those drainage concerns could be classified into 2 broad categories. The category 1 is they were aware future development was going to occur. They wanted some understanding of the system and would it be able to handle additional development. And then they had concerns about erosion control. I can tell you the erosion control issues that have been found downstream, and some of the damage was erosion control damage. Those issues are not on this parcel. If we could bring up the master plan. Is it up?
She's on her way.
If we brought up the master plan, what I would show you is, oh, good deal. Yeah, that's best. If we could by bringing up the master plan, the erosion control issues, here's my mouse, the erosion control issues have been coming off of this area right here. And so we addressed that in the design. We met with the city. The city's issue and interest was when we did the design in 2005, we did it under a certain criteria. The drainage criteria manual had been updated and changed, and they wanted assurance and an understanding through our analysis whether or not the current system would meet the new criteria. So we first looked at the overall basin, and this is a 20-acre parcel. The overall drainage basin that goes into the pond is 240 acres. And it is primarily here, and kind of cuts right down to the pond, right there. The drainage criteria update increased the intensity of the 100-year storm. Our analysis showed that the pond, while adequate under the old criteria, was slightly inadequate under the new criteria. And so we recommended an increase in the pond volume of 3 to 5% to meet current standards. We looked at the storm sewer. In 2005, all the storm sewer was installed. There's storm sewer that starts here and collects flows primarily from the National Forest. Collects flows, oops, I lost my mouse. Collects flows, comes down, collects an on-street inlet. Those flows, darn it, that mouse is going away. Whack it. Those flows come down through this future Majestic Court into the traffic circle, into the pond. Flows from here are collected in an off-site flared-in section, 2 inlets right here in Lockland Way, goes into a storm sewer, comes down Spacious Skies, meets up with the other storm sewer system, and goes into the pond. A little bit of Thunder Ridge drains and comes out this cul-de-sac into an inlet, into a storm sewer, into the pond. The storm sewers were adequate within the current criteria. They met the hydraulic grade line criteria. They met the sizing. So in our drainage report, we recommended an increase in the pond size and showed that the current system was adequate in that regard. The issue with the neighbors is one of the issues, I think, as a neighbor. The issue has been, will the pond overtop? This summer, we had a huge storm, and that pond didn't even get to the top of the outlet structure, and there was still 7 feet of storage left in that pond in that storm in July. Our analysis says it's going to see more water, and that's why we indicated that it needed to be enlarged slightly. The enlargement is basically shaving the sides of the pond to create a little bit more volume, especially on the north and east side of the pond.
Thank you. Paul, does that answer your question? Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of 300 or 230 acres, 320 acres. Even though it's mostly national forest, you're still responsible for draining that national forest when you put a subdivision. Can you tell me the size of your stormwater pipe?
Yes.
What's that?
The largest one going specifically in Lockland or in the total system?
38 inch, 36 inch.
Bigger than that.
Okay, thank you. I was looking for 38.
Yeah, we're bigger than that. Down into the pond, bigger than that. This pipe here, this pipe alone is 30 inches.
Which part are you looking at?
This one.
Oh, that one catch basin on that side?
Catch basin, that's actually a third of that 240 acres, or more than a third, coming off the National Forest is picked up before it gets to the road and put in a storm sewer. That's 30-inch pipe there. And they just get bigger as they come down through Majestic Circle and then into the pond.
And that pond down there that we're talking about shaving the acres?
Yes.
Deeper and deeper?
Not deeper.
Deeper?
To 3 to 1, which is your criteria.
Okay, 3 to 1.
it was 3.5 to 1. We really only needed 3 to 5% increase. You noted that there were 2 drainage reports. There were 2 pond options presented. The pond option presented today does not deepen the pond. It just shaves the side on 2 of the 3 sides, 2 of the 4 sides.
I personally think the problem with this stormwater over here has the lack of development of that property, the lack of effective catch the water simply because of the way it rains. And find the tap. And that this will resolve the problem. I'm just trying to get that understanding.
In the development area, yes, and the contractor, the developer, if you've been up there, has done a great job on erosion control. That might not have been as good a job in 2008, and that was what was causing my problem. And I am this lot right there. And I came,
But I appreciate the fact that you live there and you experience the problem.
and I watched that pond. Nobody likes the fact that it outfalls to Majestic Parkway. I wish there was a different solution. I wish they would have chose a different solution in the 90s when that was decided. But it is what it does today, and it does it within. Other ponds in this community are allowed to release at historic rates. This pond is releasing at about 1/3 of the historic rate. So this pond is actually over-detaining the water upstream. It's just the outlet is not pleasant when it outfalls and it runs down the street.
Thank you. Council.
I had a question about covenants for the filing.
Talk to the owner, do that. Mark, just give us your name and address, please.
I'm Mark McNabb at 206 Starlight Heights. Bye.
I had a couple of questions from folks who live in off of Majestic Parkway about the covenants and the minimum requirement for ground floor for each of the homes. What is the square footage for?
Square footage?
Yeah.
All except 3 lots are 2750, which is the same as filing 2.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thanks.
Anybody else for the applicant? Beautiful project, Mark.
Yeah, our covenants are 99.5% the same as filing 2. Just tweaked a couple of things on.
Thank you. Doug, would you like to come up even though the engineer chatted? You have something to add to that?
I've talked to several of my neighbors, and we all support this project, the ones I talked with anyway. And there's no objections. The only concern one person had, which is a concern, is that all the different homes be architecturally unique and not copies of each other. That's all. It's the only thing we're concerned about.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council, we have two motions to make. Unless we have any other questions or comments from the audience. You want to help us with those motions, Sally?
I'm going to get to them right now.
Thank you.
First motion is to approve the plat as presented with the variance to the lot frontages on lot 7, 19, and 21.
So moved.
Second from Paul. Suzanne?
Sonier?
Yes.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Case?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Labar?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Second motion regarding the subdivision development agreement and accepting the guarantee for the letter of credit.
Move to approve.
Second.
And Suzanne?
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Case?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Labar?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes.
Sonier?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, council. Thank you, everybody. Mark, thanks very much. Chuck, Tony, just going to be a great project, and look forward to finishing that thing someday. So thank you very much. Great addition to our community. Okay, we move on to new business and approving Resolution 835, and Mike Farina.
Okay, Mayor and Council, this is the resolution to approve the city's mill levy for 2018 for generating revenues for the 2019 budget year. The city's mill levy rate is 16.249. With this resolution, it would remain unchanged since 1991. The city received a preliminary assessed valuation from Teller County totaling $105,900,000. Property tax that would be generated based on that preliminary assessed valuation, and it's also included in the 2019 annual budget, is $1,721,000. Any questions?
Anybody, Val?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm going to bring up the proposal for council to consider lowering the mill levy slightly, same as I did last year. Knock off the .249. I'm just throwing it out for discussion with council. The reason being, I'm looking to help our sales tax for our businesses and our commercial, which are very extraordinary.
Comments, council? Got a couple people signed up for this. We'll let them speak and come back.
I just have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I just had the question of what's the value of each mill we levy?
Well, just for example, on a $300,000 home, the property tax, the city's property tax mill levy would be $351.
Okay.
That's on the residential end. On the commercial end, somewhere. For each $1 million in actual value for a commercial property at the 29% assessment rate would be $4,700 for each $1 million.
Got what you need, Hillary?
Yes, thank you.
You bet. Bob Carlson.
Bob Carlson, 1155 Windflower Lane, Woodland Park, Colorado. I didn't know if Val was going to bring this up, but I do recall him making the proposal last year. And I thought, well, we could do a lot better than that. But tonight, I think that would set, I mean, it was said earlier, we haven't changed it since 1991. And our financial situation, well, that's still debatable, I guess. But I think we do have a little bit of room for token reduction as Val has proposed. When I've attended a number of these workshops, sorry about that, and we've talked about
number of what workshops, Bob?
The budget workshops.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I couldn't attend all of them because I had other commitments. But there was talk about, well, we haven't included that in the revenue forecast, and it's going to be like, what did you call it? Anyway, it's a very good possibility that with the sales tax coming in higher, we won't know that until January or at the beginning of February, and a number of other things, like, for instance, the Wood and Aquatic project, we're trying to get the utility costs down now that they fixed the boiler situation. There's a lot of things that might change over the budget maybe that will be approved next week, that in the new year, we will be able to see, in fact, where our funding situation stands, especially when we get a 5 or 10 year financial plan that would show projections in the future. So I was just hoping that council, in consideration, perhaps now or in the near future, would not only consider trying to reach a reserve 17%, but also would consider other priorities for meeting our requirements. And our citizens still want some amenities. I won't say what they are, but I think we all have ideas of what we'd like to do to improve our town. And we also want to reduce property taxes. Now, I know the Gallagher Amendment is going to do something to that, but on the other hand, I think if we start exceeding the 17% reserve, then there's going to be some claims that, hey, we're already paying really high taxes, especially with the 7A passed for the ambulance district on the sales tax, and that, you know, I would hope that there would be some offset for that increase in the sales tax, just like when we increased the school district paying the getting 1%, 1.08% sales tax, and they in turn reduced the property tax in return for that. But there was no reduction in property tax as a result of the ambulance district getting a much higher part of the sales tax. So I'm just asking that the council consider a balance of all these requirements, not just putting an emphasis on one thing like reserves. And I know you like reserves, but I did hear at one of the workshops that 17% we can get at 16.5 if we need some of these higher priority top 10 requirements. And so I thought that was a good move. I think that we need to be very deliberate as to what our reserves are for, and are we overestimating what we need? And we all have different ideas about that. So anyway,
thank you, Bob.
Just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you. Tanner Coy?
Tanner Coy, 240 East Highway 24. Good evening, Mayor and Council. 1 week from Thanksgiving, I'd like to tell you how thankful I am for your comments earlier and the action that you've taken, as well as all the hard work I know you've put into this year's budget, all the work sessions and everything else. I know it's been very difficult. You're taking it very seriously on behalf of the taxpayers. That means an awful lot. It does show. And thank you.
Closer to the mic, please. Thanks, Tanner. There you go.
Thanks. At this point, I would just, well, to start, Councilmember LeVar asked a question earlier I'm not sure I completely understood or the answer to, but with regard to the value of each mill, I would look at the amount of revenue collected by the city generated by property tax and divide that by the overall number of mills. That is the value to the city of each mill. I think that's a very important number for you all to be familiar with when making the decision as to whether or not to certify the existing mill levy or make a change to it. I also think it's very important to understand why this is on the agenda every single year. It is a requirement that it comes to you. You don't have the authority to raise this number. You cannot raise it. Then why is it before you? Because you can lower it. And it's your job to review it and make a decision every year. That's why it's before you. You're entrusted to make the best decisions you can on behalf of all of the taxpayers. I know you're doing that. All mill levies by all taxing entities are public record, and they're very, very easy to find. They're in a table on the state's website. A quick review will show where Woodland Park stands as compared to other similar communities. I would encourage you to review that information. I do have a spreadsheet with me. I could show it to you if you have any interest. I know it's getting late. You probably don't care to review my spreadsheet. But I'd be happy to send it to you. Or you can look it up on the state's website for yourself and see that Woodland Park is one of the highest taxed cities in the state. For example, Steamboat, South Fork, Silverthorne, Salida, Estes Park, The average mills levied by those cities, 0. Frisco, Castle Rock, Pagosa, Cripple Creek, Durango, Parker, Canyon City, Dillon, Winter Park, Gunnison, Lake City, Castle Pines, Vale, Telluride, Levita, Breckenridge, Aspen, Westcliff, Glenwood, Monument, Idaho Springs, Grand Lake, average fewer than 3 mills. Add Granby, Buena Vista, Grand Junction, Avon, Snowmass, Loveland, Kremling, Mount Crested Butte and Crested Butte, Basalt, Fairplay, Blue River, Golden, Manitou. We're still averaging 6 mills. And Woodland Parks is 16.249. Our sales tax rate is particularly high. Granted, a good portion of that is for our school district. Nonetheless, from a taxpayer standpoint, it's a high mill levy. And it is levied on groceries. Another choice that the city has. Add to that a lodging tax, and consider it's a pretty high taxed city. The DDA has been used to offset this to a small degree on a case-by-case instance with new property taxpayers coming into the downtown district. It's a contentious issue with marginal success, if any, at improving the overall health of the city. You have the authority to lower the tax burden on all entities in the city, regardless of whether they're in the district or not, whether they're new to the area or not. And I hope that you'll consider Councilmember Carr's proposal to begin lowering the city's mill levy. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Kelly.
I appreciate the concept, and I would like to see that happen as well. But I caution that until we figure out some obligations that we have with regards to the aquatic center operations, and our reserve is restored to an acceptable level, and I know I'm pretty hardcore about that, but I've lived through 17 years of monitoring that and what that does to operations of the city. And until we figure out how we're going to pay and our aquatic center formula, I'm skeptical of doing it at this point. So know that I support and I feel the pain of the property taxes. I just don't think it's responsible to do anything at this juncture until we get that solution figured out. But thank you.
Agree. No?
So I'm gonna mention a few things. When I've wrestled with this for 5 years since I've been on council. If council wants to address this, then I think we should look at it next year on the budget and consider it next year. Doing anything right now would be reckless. I've done a calculation. My house, for example, I think I pay around $500 a year for property tax to the city. That's $41 a month. If I drop it 0.295 or whatever that is, I'll probably save $1 a month. So is it really, really that important, Val, that you do something like that, to save $1 a month for individuals? And my house is, and I'm going to say, is around $500,000. So I think right now, if we want to have this discussion, we should add it to our goals and objectives for the year. Yes. And we should really, really look into it, because I also want to mention that in the 6 years that I've lived in my house, my property tax has gone down every year. And I can't say that for everyone, but I definitely have been reducing property tax. So I think this is just kind of is not, it would be reckless at the moment, because we can vote real quick to drop it, but it takes a vote to the people to raise it back up.
I think the biggest effect is really more for commercial properties.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the rate that their assessed valuation
Right,
is
so-
29% instead
So
of
let me add to that.
7.6.
When I buy a house, I know exactly what my property tax is. So I don't buy the house and then complain my property tax is too high.
No.
So I don't come into Woodland Park and buy a business or create a business and go, oh, I know exactly what my property tax is, and then I get the business and then I complain it's too high. So do you see the problem here?
Oh, I do.
Well, we know the price of doing business. That doesn't mean...
But you knew it coming in.
Doesn't mean we wouldn't like to have a reduction in it.
I'm with you, but
That's right.
it's not, what
Come on
the
up,
request
people. Wait
is...
for you to walk up.
the
I understand.
Yeah.
I appreciate your approach. I like it. Because even Bob said, you know, we don't know at the pool. We don't know about
Right.
Gallagher. There's a lot of things that we're not sure of right now. And so it makes sense to investigate it. Mike, maybe next year we'll see what happens here. But to at least consider this earlier in the year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Right,
say. We
let's-
need to consider it as we begin the budget process
Right.
and not at the first reading of the ordinance.
Of course, I did have it on my list. I
It's
also
on-
objected.
it is on our goals
Just as an FYI, I'm not making a big deal out of this, but it's about $27,000, the .249.
For this.
I just want to,
for this.
if I could, Mayor,
Just FYI.
this is a complicated issue. It has far-reaching impacts on multiple issues.
It does.
It also, if you don't know, the specific ownership tax is calculated based on the mill levy as well, so it doesn't just impact the mill levy revenues. As you know, the Gallagher Amendment's getting ready. There's a potential for it to drop from 7.2 to 6.1 next year. We don't know. There's a lot of different things that are going to occur. I mean, there are different things that we can address. I would just ask for, if we make a decision like this, that we analyze it and try to find what the true impacts of it are. You're absolutely right. This has a greater impact on businesses, but we need to really analyze the second and third order effects of what this would do to the revenues.
Sounds good. Let me start with Pete, because I asked him to come up. We'll go from there. Just give us your name and address, please.
Pete LeBar, 750 East US Highway 24, to name one. There are multiple reasons why I would argue that the mill levy should be dropped. One of them is we've got a reassessment coming up next year. Number two, there are multiple commercial businesses that are being brought into the city, so you can have greater tax revenues brought into the city. Number three, we've got some developments going on as well. There's multiple developments going on that are going to add additional revenues to the city. And so, yes, being hasty in trying to take a vote today to reduce it may be out of line. But to the argument that Councilman Sawyer, that your tax goes down by 3 cents or whatever amount it was, or $2, I can tell you that my tax on multiple businesses goes down significantly. And that allows me to do more. It allows me to build more, to offer more opportunities to people to be employed. And when you start taking away those dollars from businesses to pay property taxes, it limits the amount of growth of the city. You make mention that we buy commercial real estate saying, well, we know what the value of it is, and we know what the taxes are. But what we don't know is what the taxes are going to be next year. And with the growth of the city and with the growth of the economy, I can guarantee you that all these properties are going to go up in value. And so for us, business owners and business property, commercial property owners, it's not a crapshoot. This is an assurity, because property values have gone down for the last 3-4 cycles. They are going to go up. And I think if our next county assessor was still here, he would probably tell you the same thing. So I would like to suggest that maybe you table this issue for a couple of weeks and come back and address it in another meeting and take a look at it. Barring that, I can tell you this, that I think that it's a shame that we live in a city that taxes food. I think getting rid of the food tax would benefit everybody, and especially those who need it the most, the lower income individuals in our community, the poor in our community, people on fixed incomes. Everybody buys about the same amount of food every year. You know, there's not a big difference between what you and I, Noel, might buy and people who live in some of our communities might buy. There's not a big difference. But that, to me, if you can't do this, do that, and figure out how to get rid of that tax. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Neil?
Sir.
I like the stash. Looks good. and I agree with you that well, the Gallagher is only going to affect homes. It's not going to affect businesses. So, but I really think we should take some time and just put it on our goals and objectives next year and look at it. $27,000, if sales tax goes up, that could just be a wash. I mean, we could reduce maybe 1 mil. But obviously that is totally up for debate with the other council members, but I think it should be highly looked at next year for goals and objectives. But I don't think we should do anything now. Because
Hillary?
I was just, before PPP came up to speed, I was going to ask if it was a possibility, because I'm not, either way, I would like to be better educated before I make my decision, and I would love it if I could meet with Mike, who could talk to us about the impact, and also I think it would be great if we could have Hope Simmons join us, his assessor who's going to be the So I don't know how everyone else feels. I know we're all burnt out on meetings and getting together, but for me personally, if we could table it temporarily so that I would feel better educated before I say yes or no, I would appreciate that.
I would also appreciate the education. I don't know if you have time to do it.
Well, Mike, what is the effect of tabling it? Because we have to certify in order to get it to the county.
We still have time. It's due to the county. We have to certify it to the county by December 15th. Also, I wanted to come back to the question you asked about what's 1 mil. It's 105,000. And then as far as, looking at the reduction, not just necessarily looking at it as next year's budget, but looking at it long term. And I think that's another good reason to be doing a 5-year operations plan to see what the impact would be over multiple years. So I also, to add to Mr. Coy's analysis, this was an analysis that was done on property tax, the city's property tax, compared to other cities and he's right, we're higher in that mix of all property mill levies. We're at 16.249. The average is 13.833, so we're a little higher than the average. And then looking at it in terms of numbers of cities that have a mill levy, 89 are higher than Woodland Park, and 180 are lower than Woodland Park, and so we sit at 90th.
Mike, if you look at those, though, you can see, tell me how many of those have DDAs that take a large portion of that
Yeah, I don't have that information. I'm just saying, in comparing I just wanted to add to that analysis that there's 89 higher than us and 180 lower. So we are on the higher end, but we're number 90 out of 200.
So, Council, what I'm hearing is we would like to have more information before we make a decision. And so the question, Mike, could we have that amount of information and get that accomplished by our next meeting in 2 weeks?
Certainly.
I'm sorry? I think we have to do a work session before the December 6th council meeting.
Could it not be discussed at the council meeting?
Can't we do it at the
Can we do it at the council meeting itself like we are now?
Do a presentation to the city council on the impacts?
Yeah, that
Sure.
would probably be good.
Would you rather
think
do
it
that
should
or
be
rather
public.
do a work
Well,
session?
the impact would
The
be,
work session's still going to be public.
Yeah.
the impact would be for .249 is about 30,000. It's about 26,000 property tax and another 3,000 specific ownership. 1 mil would be 105,000. That's the impact.
Which does have a cascading effect on the 2019 budget.
Right, and once it goes away, It's got to go to the vote of the people to come back. You're never going to see it again. I guarantee it. So is it really that important to save minuscule amounts of money when it costs more to get us coffee at Starbucks for some people each month? I hate to say that, but is it really that important? Now, if we're going to do 3 or 4 mills, yeah, let's look into it. But such a small amount right now. I know it's more of a...
I just think that this is poor timing to be considering
Definitely.
something that is so impactful. It should have been started at the beginning of our budget season and be a very integral a part of our budget work sessions through the process. To bring it up at the first reading and at the time that we set the mill levy is as the word's been used, reckless, because the impacts need to be studied and considered by the council and by the community, and I would suggest that time is next budget season and be part of the whole process. But I'm okay with tabling it to the next meeting if that will help the council. I fully agree that a reduction in taxation on this community is important, particularly for our businesses. But to do it in this manner is not responsible.
You know what I would recommend is let me have a call for the motion. If it passes, it passes. If it's not, if it doesn't, then we will move forward.
I would just recommend that we have at least a presentation so that the taxpayers can at least understand why we're voting yes or no and what the impact is.
Issue for 5 years, and Gallagher Amendment has been going on for the last 3 years, and we've all known that it's going to make an adjustment. And so this discussion has been going on for a while.
That's a good question for Mike, if you would. Mike, what is the calculated impact if it goes to 6.1 for residential assessment rate? No, we've actually had...
Yeah, my early estimate is like $107,000 lower than what's budgeted for 2019. In 2020, very preliminary estimate, about $107,000.
That we're going to lose.
That will,
Just
our
from
property
Gallagher.
tax will go down. But see, that's not knowing what assessed values will be going up.
Right, so it's a moving number, and I've always argued that with people, that if we reduce our mills, it doesn't mean that we're still going to pay, we might still pay more, because the assessed value could change.
When it decreased from 7.96, I think it was, to 7.2, a lot of that loss in property tax was made up by increase in assessed valuation. So it's just a guess or a reasonable estimate, but again, we wouldn't know until we got our assessed valuation for 2020.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we table this to the next meeting.
I think I guess I need a motion. I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Suzanne?
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Second is from Val.
Thank you.
I did have a question. I mean, what more do we need to be presented on the issue? We know what the impact would be without considering a Gallagher change. What else do we need to know?
Well, we can do this. The information that anybody wants to know, it'll give us 2 weeks. They can get those questions to Mike and get those questions answered, because, honestly, whether we approve it or not today or in 2 weeks doesn't make any difference. If everyone feels better that they'll have the information that they need, and Carol, you may have yours, somebody else may not, but it'll give everybody an opportunity at least to get that information and then make a decision.
Okay.
Kelly?
I just want to tell the council this will affect our ordinance for appropriation for 2019 as well, which is scheduled for public hearing that day.
Right.
So, like I said, it's poor timing. If that helps the council, I think Mike can be prepared. I don't know. We have to approve the ordinance or have another meeting in December. And if he can amend the ordinance to include any decision that the council might make that night, it just causes logistically a lot of problems for the finance department and the city manager. So just be aware of that.
I'd just like to point out real quick, saying it's 1 mill is $105,000, and then we just get the grant. for 100 and some thousand, and we were just told last budget meeting that the marijuana grants are going to probably significantly increase. I mean, the grant just balanced out us reducing our taxpayers' mill by one.
One time.
I know, but
I just think
so I find it interesting that 105,000 is suddenly we're saying we can't. Oh my God, what's going to happen? We don't know. I mean, we know the pool's a problem. We know the pool's a problem, but I would just feel.
You don't know what the Gallagher is going to be.
Right.
Right. We don't. There's just so many unknowns. So here's the suggestion. We got a motion and a second on the floor.
Yeah.
Let's go there first. Suzanne?
Thank you.
And you want to restate the motion?
Yes,
The
please.
motion is to table this increase of the mill levy resolution to the next council meeting, which is December 6th.
Thank you.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Carr?
So we're delaying, I'm sorry, I was...
Tabling the motion for 2 weeks. The one that you just seconded.
Yes.
Yes. Case?
Yes, with reservation.
Harvey?
No.
Labar?
Yes.
Levy?
No.
Swanier?
No.
Sawyer?
No.
I want to make sure everyone's clear on,
They're clear.
They're clear.
on not table.
So we're going to vote on it.
You're voting on
We're
not.
voting on it.
We just voted on tabling. It didn't pass.
It didn't
4-3.
pass.
Correct.
Now, if I can get a motion.
Motion to approve Resolution 835 as stated.
Second.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Case?
Yes.
Harvey?
Yes.
Labar?
No.
Levy?
Yes.
Swanier?
Yes.
We would keep the mill levy
Just to
the
keep
same.
the mill levy the same.
Oh, yeah.
Sawyer?
Yes.
Carr?
No.
Okay. Motion carries 5-2.
Great. Council, thank you very much. Thanks for the discussion.
I'd just like to
And be
make a
sure-
comment that I just would like to ask the city management to make that a priority that we discuss early on in the budget session next time, so that we're prepared for this before we get this far in the process.
Agreed. And I think there are things that the city council, there's other measures that could be taken.
Yes.
To maybe even make this occur. Just it needs a deeper analysis, and we
Absolutely.
can chat, we can discuss that in a work session sometime.
I mean, Mr. Labar brought up food tax. I mean, can council work on reducing food tax by half, maybe?
That's a pretty,
See, something like that.
What the effect on our budget is?
Well, I don't know.
That's even
I don't know. That's the whole point.
huge.
I'm looking for other ideas.
When we get these evaluations, is it possible at that point to...
Sorry, Pete.
Before we even go into goals and objectives, if you start...
Well, those don't usually come out until August timeframe.
Yeah,
Whenever.
the assessed valuation doesn't, so we couldn't have a resolution done prior to getting the assessed valuation, which comes out August 15th, August 25th, something like that.
August 25th.
But you could certainly start talking about the mill levy rate and what you plan on setting well before that. It actually did come up as a council objective, but it did not rise to the level of continued discussion when you were prioritizing. So we did start talking about it because it was brought up, but just that didn't go anywhere during our work sessions earlier.
Great. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
We'll move on to mayor's reports, and I'm going to start with, where should I start? I'm going to start with local citizen Sharon Quay. I know a lot of you knew. Sharon was instrumental in bringing the new library to our city, and Sharon passed this past week. Her memorial is tomorrow, 11/16 at 2 o'clock at the Shrine of Remembrance. But critical leader in our community, and the library is the fruit of her vision and many others. So that service is tomorrow, and Sharon, you will be missed. Also tomorrow, 9:30 to 11 at the high school, the Veterans Day event, which is probably one of the greatest things that they do at the high school, has been moved from Monday when they had a snow day to tomorrow morning. So 9:30. Please, veterans, everybody, this is a great opportunity to honor our veterans, and having all the kids involved is just very emotional, and I would recommend that everybody be there. It just doesn't get any better. It's worth an hour and a half of your time tomorrow. High school at 9:30. Next Tuesday, November 20th, 5:30 to 7, Chamber Business After Hours. This time will be hosted by our new bank, Community Bank. Saturday, November 24th, as Lynn spoke about earlier, Shop Small Business Saturday. That's a week from Saturday. Saturday, November 24th from 9 to 3, the Mountain Arts Holiday Show at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. Saturday, December 1st, a lot going on that day. So 8 o'clock in the morning is the Kiwanis Breakfast with Santa at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. 6 o'clock to 7 on the 1st, the annual Lighter Side of Christmas Parade. Also, Saturday and Sunday, all day at Tweeds, the Tweeds Holiday Home Tour, not just at Tweeds, but how many properties do we have this year?
We have the Hospitality House and 6 venues. One is in Cascade at the winery at Pikes Peak. One is in north of Divide on County Road 51. The rest are here in town.
Great. Hope for good weather. Great event. December 1st, 7:15, after the parade, the Christmas tree lighting ceremony at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. And then Sunday, December 2nd, the Woodland Park Wind Symphony, talked about earlier, the 25th anniversary gala holiday concert, also at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. And last Thursday, December 6th, from 11:30 to 1, Chamber Lunch and Learn, business applications with drones, also at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. I think I've got mine done. Val?
You covered all mine. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Kelly?
I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Carol? Hillary?
I don't have all of the information, but I just wanted to mention that our canine officer, Rico, had a successful drug bust this week, and our victims advocate got an award for, it was a state award. I know Chief Dion didn't speak to it, but they're doing a really good job of it.
Sounds good. Paul?
Yes. Community-wide input session.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
No, you're fine.
You got this? Thank you.
No problem. It will be on Tuesday, December 4th from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Ute Pass Cultural Center. Everyone is invited. Please come. We want to see our youth there. Great ideas and participate in this, as well as our community, cities, and council. Please join us as we go into our community plan with Main Street and be a part of the system. Like refreshments, beverages will be served, wear your favorite holiday sweater, for the Ugly Sweater Contest. I thank you, and one of the things I would like to know, although I don't want to take up enough time, is maybe at the next meeting, if there is any update on the West Valley Road closures, might come.
There'll be an update after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Noel.
All right, so Parks and Recreation, Culture and Aquatics had a good October. You had this in your packets, but I'd just like to highlight a few things for the community. The recreational guide, the 2019 recreational guide, will be probably in the mail in the next 3 weeks, I believe. Or pick up, sorry. First week in December, there we go, thank you. In October, there were 3 reservations for Memorial Park and 13 reservations for Meadowwood. Ute Pass Cultural Center hosted 5 community events. Woodland Park School District 3rd grade Learn to Swim program. So this is really good. This is why we have the Aquatic Center, for our kids to learn to swim. Aquatic Center Staff met. They're working on marketing revenue generating programs, collaborating with other agencies, and hiring non-traditional lifeguards. This is kind of what I pushed a little bit during the budget, is we need to build up the revenue for the aquatic center. So thank you for doing that. And oh, she's left. The aquatic center has been open for a year. Can you believe that? Aquatic Center birthday bash was held October 28th. The party was themed around Halloween with a costume contest, trick-or-treating, pumpkin races, lazy river. I hear it was a good time. The other thing that's not on your sheet is that the girls swim team has started practicing a couple days ago, so that's good. Let's see, passes. This is the monthly, right? This is monthly, correct? 860 passes?
The daily?
Yeah, the daily was 766. That's October, okay. 3-month pass, 1. Annual pass, 3. Punch cards, 46. 20 punch cards, 44. For a total of 860 for the month of October. That's excellent. So, and I finally actually went to a Park and Rec meeting last night. Finally. They were always in that room over there, and we were here doing the budget, and it was really, I really enjoy those meetings, and so I look forward to many more.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Okay, City Attorney's report.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome back.
It's so nice to see you all. And I have no report. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Darren.
Thank you. A couple things I want to touch on. First, I won't go in the same order, but there's been some discussion about Golden Meadows Dog Park after the last hearing. At this point, we've discussed it with Bianca, and her recommendation will come in front of City Council on the 1st of December, and the site that she plans to recommend is at the Meadowwoods Sports Complex, just west of the tennis courts. So a lot of different things, reasons why that'll all be discussed on December 1st. A lot of questions there. One of the recommendations I want to make tonight, after discussing this with our city attorney and the SURSA attorney as well, is a recommendation to remove written correspondence from our agenda in the future. We're one of very few communities in the state of Colorado that still have that type of agenda item on the agenda, and so in order to remove it, my recommendation tonight is to the City Council to come to a consensus for removal of that agenda item in the future. And I'll wait. I guess we can do that now, or
let's do it now.
Okay.
Let's do it now. So let me just make sure of the process. If somebody wants to write a letter, right, it won't be read, but can they come and read it themselves?
Yeah.
And it will always be put in the record, or not?
No.
Not necessarily. If they ask it to be put in the record, is it automatic?
No, our record is recorded in a set of minutes, so you can't submit something to the city unless it's part of a public hearing and ask that it be made part of the record. So to be part of the record, a person would have to be here and make that statement in the public. The exception would be a public hearing on a land use matter or a liquor hearing, and in that event, a person can submit something to be part of the record.
Good. Do we just need consensus on this?
You just need consensus, and then what I think the city manager would be to collect this as one item that would be a future amendment to your policies and procedures, because your policies and procedures do contain the form of the agenda within them. So this would count as an amendment to that, and you would formalize it at a time when you maybe had a few other changes to make to those.
Great,
that would be my suggestion.
We have consensus?
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes.
So we're good to go there, Darren.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to defer in a second to Chief DeYoung regarding the previous discussion that you wanted the feedback from Chief DeYoung on. But one other thing, Sally, did you want to? It was already brought up, so okay, we're good on that. So I will. One of the items that I wanted to discuss tonight, but I just don't want to take a whole lot of your time, was critical information requirements that I wanted to hand out. I'll just hand it to you tonight. Please take a look at it, read it. Really what it outlines is what it's a contract between city staff and city council on what you want us to communicate to you in the time and manner that you want it communicated. And so it touches on a lot of things that I think are important, and I want to make sure that there's clarity in how we communicate. And so I'll get that to you, and then I'll come back at a future date and try to get consensus that that's what you want. I'll let Chief DeYoung take my last.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Councilwoman LaBarre, for bringing up our department. And I do say our department because it's not just mine, it's council's, it's our citizens' department. And I want to thank you again for supporting the K-9 program. As you can see, we have a little bit of success every now and then. Recently, we got a number of drugs out of this last vehicle, a loaded firearm, took a couple of people to jail. What you didn't know is that right before he did that search on that vehicle, he went and searched a stolen vehicle that officers Huber and Couch had recovered the night before, and also found methamphetamine. So that dog is paying dividends in terms of helping keep the drugs out of our community. And I appreciate you supporting that. The other thing, talking about the COBA award, it's not just an award, it's a pretty big deal in the victim advocate world. So we're recognized for having the Outstanding Victim Services Program Award for the state of Colorado. Out of the whole state, our little county got that award. And there's over 1,000 attendees there. And so what do we do to get that award? Since Erica came in, Erica Vita is running the program, she tripled the number of victims that we're serving now. I mean, we're serving about 200. We're well over 600 in the time frame that we're looking at. She's also tripled the number of volunteers that we're dealing with. She's also helping a human trafficking victim that we just opened a case on this week. So she's doing a lot of wonderful things for us, getting a lot of good data from our partner agencies, and I just can't say how proud I am of her and for the program that she's building up here. So thank you for recognizing that.
Thank you. Anything else, Suzanne?
Mayor Levy, I just would like to remind the council that I'm still waiting to hear from some of you as to whether you're going to be in the parade with your city staff.
Thank you.
Smiles will be happy to know that I'm running traffic that day.
Yes.
4:30 to 6:30.
I have a couple of yeses.
Sorry, I have to line up part of the
Yes, you are. Anything else, council? Okay, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
10:20.
Thank you, sir.